Chapter 131. Live and work in peace and contentment? It was strange for these words to appear in the apocalypse. Chu Xiang's curiosity was piqued. She turned to them and said, "We will go, Ming." Chu Xiang entered the villa. The two people outside hesitated for a moment, before going to the opposite villa. Chu Xiang stood by the window and watched them go. She narrowed her eyes. If it was just a casual invitation, why would they be here? It seemed that the leader of the base had taken a fancy to their strength, and didn't want to miss them. She just didn't know if this invitation was sincere or not. Chaotic times were the easiest to arouse the darkness in people's hearts. Chu Xiang expected the worst. She went to the master bedroom and found 3 pieces of roused jade jewelry. She used her spiritual power to engrave a defensive array on them. It was late at night when Xiao Jin and Xiao Cheng finished cultivating. They hadn't eaten anything and were so hungry that their stomachs were growling. They immediately went to the kitchen to get something to eat. Chu Xiang leaned against the kitchen door and told them about the nearby base. Xiao Jin said, "Since they sent people to watch us, it's not good if we don't go. Why don't we go and check it out? No matter if the leader is friend or foe, he won't attack us immediately. If it's a strong enemy, we still have time to run." Chu Xiang nodded. "That's what I think too." She raised the necklace made of jewelry. "This is for you. It's a protective charm. Wear it and don't take it off." Xiao Cheng took the necklace and saw the complicated patterns on the pendant. He was shocked. "What is this? You didn't engrave it, did you? How did you engrave it?" Chu Xiang smiled. "Cultivate well. You can engrave it in the future. But it's hard to engrave it. If you make a mistake, it might explode. Wear it quickly." Xiao Jin didn't say anything. He smiled when he put on the necklace. He could feel that Chu Xiang was slowly accepting them. She was really treating them as one of her own. This kind of fate was very strange. Some people had known each other for more than 10 years, but their feelings might be ordinary. Some people only knew each other for a few years, and they would have deep feelings for each other. It all depended on whether they got along well, and what they had experienced. The 3 of them discussed the secret signals and eye signals so that they could cooperate in case of danger. Then they cultivated for the whole night. This was the first time Xiao Jin and Xiao Cheng came into contact with cultivation. It was as if they had obtained a new toy. Their enthusiasm soared, and they couldn't wait to cultivate every second. They had used up all their nuclei. When they were heading to the base, they joked, "Let's see if there are any high-level zombies in the base. The nuclei of high-level zombies are precious." As Xiao Jin drove, he glanced at the rearview mirror and raised his brows. "They're following us. They're really keeping a close eye on us." Chu Xiang lowered her head while polishing the dagger. Her words sounded casual, and she didn't seem to be afraid at all. Xiao Cheng said in bewilderment, "Since you're worried, can't we just not go? Why are you 2 going?" "Fun." Chu Xiang laughed. "We can't always avoid the Lone Ranger, can we? It's already hard to meet living people, so no matter how many you meet, you still have to interact with them. Don't be out of touch with society." "This is society. Who cares if we're out of touch or not?" Xiao Cheng ridiculed, then suddenly understood. "Oh, you mean we shouldn't be like those people in the camp? They're all muddle-headed and don't understand the situation of the apocalypse. We have to gather information from other people, right?" Xiao Jin whistled. "Little brother, you've become smarter. It seems that cultivation can increase intelligence. Oh right. Remember not to mention anything about cultivation at any time, got it? Anyone who asks will say that they've absorbed nuclei to increase their intelligence." I know. Am I that stupid?" Xiao Cheng rolled his eyes. He found a few guns, loaded them with bullets, and handed them to them. The base wasn't too far away. They arrived after driving for about half an hour. The base was originally a villa area. People piled up cars, burlap sacks, and other heavy objects to build a high wall around it. There were always people patrolling the wall with guns. The gate was tightly shut. No zombies could enter. It looked like a very safe place. The man and woman who followed Chu Xiang jumped out of the car. The man ran in front of them and smiled. "You really came. That's great. I promise you won't want to leave after you enter the base. This is really a paradise. Let's go. I'll take you in." Then he waved to the people on the wall and shouted, "These three are the leader's guests." On the wall, Ru nodded and gestured towards the inside. The door opened immediately. The man said, "I'm sorry. Most of the people in the base are ordinary people. They don't know how to fight. Weapons may make them uncomfortable. There are no zombies here. It's very safe. Please give your weapons to the base for safekeeping. Don't worry. If you want to leave, everything will be returned to you." Xiaoqing frowned and pressed the door. "What do you mean? You want to take all our supplies? What kind of logic is that?" The man smiled. "You'll know when you go in. The base is under unified management. Every cafeteria gives out free meals. Everyone can get supplies for free. This way, everyone will be happy. It's very safe." Xiaoqing sneered before he could finish. "Is this idealism a joke? It's the end of the world. Losing everything. Is this a game? Who came up with this rule?" The smile on the man's face disappeared. "The leader is our savior. He gathered us together and worked hard to survive. If it was in the past, he would be a great philanthropist. What right do you have to mock him so rudely?" Xiaojin gave Xiaoqing a look and said, "I'm sorry. My brother's thinking is different from yours. Sorry, but the things in the car were gathered by us. I'm afraid we can't give them to strangers. This base we won't go in. Let's go." Chu Xiang got in the car first and started it without saying anything. The man hurriedly pulled Xiaojin and said, Wait. I'll go talk to the leader and see what he wants. Since you're already here, don't rush to leave. We really don't have any bad intentions. We just admire your skills and hope you can stay. Wait, okay? I'll be right back." The man called two people to take care of them and quickly ran into the base. Chu Xiang, Xiaojin, and Xiaoqing pretended to exchange glances. Xiaoqing lit a cigarette and walked around the open gate while smoking. In fact, he was observing the situation inside the base. Xiaojin casually leaned against the car and looked at the layout of the base. He already had a few escape routes in mind. Chu Xiang confirmed how many people were patrolling around the perimeter, how many guns were there, where were the blind spots and where they could hide. When the leader came out, they had already observed everything they could and stood together again. The leader was a strong man in his 30s. He had a strong aura and a kind smile. When he saw them, he warmly shook hands with them. "Hello, I'm Peng Peng. I'm the leader of this base." When he saw Chu Xiang, he was obviously stunned. Then he smiled and said, "I listened to you guys for the first 2 days. The three of you actually cleared the entire villa area. That's amazing. I admire you." Chu Xiang smiled and said, "Mr. Peng, you're too polite. 2 of my friends, Mr. Peng, invited us to take a look at the base. We happened to be free, so we came. We didn't expect to have to hand over supplies and weapons. I'm afraid that's a bit inappropriate. After all, we don't know each other and don't trust each other. I think we won't enter this base." Peng Peng was a bit surprised that Chu Xiang was in charge. He saw that Xiaojin and Xiaoqing stood beside Chu Xiang without any objections. He had a new evaluation of Chu Xiang's strength. He laughed heartily and said, "Rules are dead, but people are alive. I like to make friends, and our base likes to recruit strong people. As for these things, to be honest, we don't want to take them from you. I have a lot of weak people here, and I want to protect their safety. I can't let outsiders bring weapons in." He smiled and said, "But I'm very sincere in inviting you to take a look at the base. How about this? Lock this car and leave it here. I promise that my people won't touch it. When you leave, you can drive away. How about it? Go in and take a look. Maybe you'll like it here, and be willing to stay. In this world, a stable life is more important than anything, isn't it?" There was no trust in this kind of thing, and it all depended on the person's choice. Chu Xiang nodded and put the gun and dagger in the car. "I hope Mr. Peng is a man of integrity. It's an honor to visit your base. My name is Chu Xiang." "Sister Chu, please." Peng Peng brought her into the base, and everyone looked over curiously. Xiaojin and Xiaoqing put down their weapons and followed behind Chu Xiang. One looked left, the other right, and they were secretly observing the base's environment. The door behind them slowly closed. Separated by only a door, It was as if the end of the world was separated from their peaceful home. In the base, there were children running and playing, old people laughing and chatting, men fixing things and women drying clothes. It was really a beautiful scene, and it was easy to get lost in it. To have such a peaceful life in the end of the world, how wonderful was it? However, Chu Xiang and the other two who had fought for their lives outside knew that this was just a beautiful bubble. Once a large number of zombies surrounded the base, or a large group of people attacked, even if the base wasn't destroyed, it would suffer a great loss. Who would be willing to risk their lives to find things to feed others? And it had to be distributed fairly. The nearby supplies would be used up quickly, and when that time came, where would they find things to feed these people? These were all the hidden dangers of the base, but everyone was confused by this beautiful dream. And in the end, they were just cannon fodder. A beautiful girl saw them and immediately ran over, and said excitedly, "It's you guys. My name is AI, and I was hiding in the villa area in the east. Thank you for killing all the zombies there, otherwise I wouldn't have the chance to come to the base. Are you guys also here to join the base? This place is very good. It's like a human paradise, welcome." Chu Xiang smiled and nodded. "Seems like you've adapted well. Of course, Brother Peng is very powerful. You can protect so many people, and also let everyone live a good life. Although you have to do some work, but it's all very simple work. I'm very lucky to be here," AI said sincerely to Peng Peng. "Thank you, Brother Peng. I won't disturb you guys, I'll go do my work." Peng Peng smiled. "AI told us about you guys, she seems to admire you guys a lot. When the girl came, she was starving and was very afraid of people, but under everyone's care, she returned to normal and has adapted to this place. I know you guys have experienced a lot outside, and a life of fighting and killing can easily make people tired, as if there is no end to it. But it's different here. I hope to return to the life before the apocalypse, and this requires more capable people to work with me. So I really hope you guys can join the base." Someone reported to Peng Peng, and Peng Peng didn't continue to persuade them, but let them walk around by themselves. "Maybe after you understand this place, you'll like it here. Go see the base, you'll be satisfied." Chu Xiang, Xiao Jin and Xiao Qing strolled around the base, and everyone who saw them showed a curious expression, and then went up to talk to them. It was nothing more than asking if they were new friends who had joined the base, how good the base was, and then persuading them to stay. Xiao Qing sighed softly. "I really don't know if they're real or stupid." Chu Xiang's mouth had a trace of a smile, and she walked slowly with her hands behind her back. No matter if they're real or stupid, everyone has to be responsible for their own choices. There's a saying, if you rely on a mountain, the mountain will collapse. If you rely on a person, he will run, but unfortunately not many people understand. Probably because Chu Xiang's smile made people mistakenly think that she was satisfied with the base, the woman who had gone to spy on her came over with AI, and said proudly, "How is it? Isn't the base great? I'll let AI take you to the place you'll be staying tonight." Chu Xiang nodded. "Okay, thank you." AI was sent to lead the way, and she was very happy, chattering nonstop along the way. Xiao Cheng was annoyed that someone was so long-winded, and he opened his mouth to interrupt her, but Chu Xiang stopped him with a look. Then, Xiao Qing watched as Chu Xiang and AI chatted nonstop along the way, and at first he thought that the sun had risen from the west, and that the violent maniac finally had a feminine side, but later, he understood that Chu Xiang was just trying to get information out of AI. In 10 minutes, Chu Xiang got everything out of AI, and she got all the information that AI knew about the base. Xiao Qing saw Xiao Jin secretly give Chu Xiang a thumbs up, and he couldn't help but sympathize with AI, this silly girl. She was probably helping people count the money after being sold. AI brought Chu Xiang and the others to the villa that was assigned to them, and she smiled. "The houses in this villa area don't have owners anyway, so if you don't like this, you can change. Everyone is like this. There's electricity here, so you can take a hot bath and relax." Xiao Qing asked curiously, "You're really satisfied with this place? Do you want to stay here forever?" AI's smile faded and she sighed. "Everything is good here, but unfortunately, there's no research institute. I think that if I have the chance, I'll leave, but my physical fitness is very poor, and I don't know how to kill zombies, so it's hard to leave. Even if I leave, I don't know where to go." She looked at the three of them, and her eyes suddenly lit up. Oh right, where did you come from? Did you see any other bases on the way? I want to go to a base with a research institute and a laboratory to study how to eliminate the zombie virus. Is there? Chu Xiang was a bit surprised. You do research? AI nodded. Yes, my parents are both researchers, and I've always liked to study these things. Unfortunately, they're not here anymore, or they would definitely know where to find a research institute. You guys killed a lot of zombies, and I even dissected a few zombie corpses. If it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't even have this chance, so I'm really grateful. Xiao Jin asked seriously, You've studied those zombies? Do you think it's possible to eliminate the zombie virus? It's possible, but AI frowned. It would take the entire team a long time, and a very precise research, calculation, recording, and analysis to succeed. In this environment, it's very difficult. Even if this place is like a paradise, there's no way to get the equipment for a research institute, let alone someone like me who understands research. It's too difficult. AI was very talkative, and once she started talking, she couldn't stop. She rambled on a lot about the details of her research on zombies. Chu Xiang studied medicine and did research all her life in her previous life, so with just a few words, she could tell that she was a professional and a talent in this field. Unfortunately, if it wasn't a particularly strong base, no one would pay attention to such a talent, because there was nothing for her to study, so she was useless. AI chatted for a while, then remembered that she had to go to the cafeteria to help distribute food, so she hurriedly ran to work. This was her current life. She could only be a girl who did odd jobs. Xiaoqing looked at her back. What a pity. If it wasn't for the apocalypse, she might have become a very, very outstanding person. Xiao Jin slapped him on the back and urged, Hurry up and go to the cafeteria to get food. Now is not the time for you to be envious of scholars. Who's envious of scholars? Then people with a lot of knowledge are already very powerful. I'm not going to follow you guys. I'm going to the cafeteria to get some information. Xiaoqing slapped Xiao Jin's hand away and quickly chased after AI. Xiao Jin laughed and shook his head, then sat down on the sofa and explained to Chu Xiang, who was next to him. Chung Song's studies aren't good. No matter how hard he works, he can only pass. He's always been envious of people with high knowledge who study well. I didn't expect to meet one at this time. He's probably really feeling sorry for AI. But in this world, people who love sports and fitness might have an easier time surviving. Chu Xiang leaned on the sofa and smiled. Now he's someone that others envy. Being able to survive in the apocalypse is the most enviable thing. That's true. Xiao Jin raised his palm and a ball of flame appeared. He pondered. We've walked around in such a big circle, but we still haven't seen any psychics. We know too little about this. After we finish eating, I'll go talk to those patrolling and see if I can get anything out of them. Okay, I'll go talk to the girls. They usually have someone they admire. It's easy to talk with exaggerated praise. Chengsong, you can do whatever you want. Ask whatever you can. The two of them arranged things in a few words, and when Xiaocheng came back with food, the three of them started to move after eating. The night at the base was very interesting. Everyone gathered in the plaza, playing music and dancing. The children ran around the adults, and everyone was very happy. Even the soldiers who came back from killing zombies had smiles on their faces, holding beer and playing with everyone. After a battle, being able to play around like this was a kind of relaxation and comfort for them. They might even be able to meet a one-night lover in this happy atmosphere. Chu Xiang and the girls talked about clothes, food, and soon the topic turned to the handsome guys in the base. Now, being handsome wasn't just about being good-looking. It was about being strong and powerful. The girls talked nonstop about the people they admired. They were very familiar with the preferences of the soldiers in the base, and most of them worshipped Peng Peng. Chu Xiang smoothly learned from them that there were two psychics in the base, and Peng Peng was one of them. Peng Peng was an earth psychic. Many of the outer walls were made by Peng Peng with his ability. According to him, his ability had reached level 3. He could turn the earth on the ground into various shapes, and his defense and attack were top-notch. Xiao Jin also gained a lot. He found out that there were psychics in the apocalypse, but there were no cultivators. There weren't many psychics, there were only 2 of them in the base, but ordinary people couldn't be sure when they would awaken their ability. It depended on their aptitude. It was easier for them to awaken their ability after experiencing many dangerous situations. Xiaoqing didn't stay idle. He found out Pengpeng's office, residence, and several important places in the base. He even noted down how the patrolling soldiers changed shifts. However, the more they found out, the more they found that the base wasn't as happy as it seemed. Some people weren't satisfied with life in the base and would sneak out. But the base was so heavily guarded. How could ordinary people escape? Those so-called sneak-out people must have gone missing. It was very likely that Peng was behind it. Everyone left. Chu Xiang, Xiaoqing, and Xiaoqing walked towards the villa where they were temporarily staying. They didn't expect to meet Peng on the way. Peng smiled and asked, "How was it? How did it feel? Have you made your decision?" Chu Xiang said tentatively, "We're not used to such a comfortable life. We still want to continue. Sorry, thank you for your warm hospitality today, Mr. Peng." Peng's smile didn't change, but his eyes became a little more excited. "That's good. I'll tell everyone tomorrow morning. Although it's a pity, I respect your decision. It's fate that brought us together. Say goodbye to everyone tomorrow morning before you set off. I'll ask someone to drive you for a while and guide you." "Okay, thank you, Mr. Peng," Chu Xiang said perfunctorily, then returned to the villa with Xiao Jin and Xiaoqing. "He asked someone to drive us and guide us. I'm afraid he wants to do something bad to us. We'll deal with whatever comes our way. Just be careful. He'll definitely do something on the way. He won't touch our supplies in the morning. Check the car." The 3 of them discussed briefly, then returned to their rooms to focus on cultivation. No matter when, improving one's strength was the most important thing. In this world, being able to fight was the way to go. In the wee hours of the morning, Chu Xiang heard a sound in the courtyard and frowned. She guessed that Peng was going to do something when he was sending them off. Was she wrong? She quickly walked to the window and looked in the direction of the sound. When she saw who it was, she raised her eyebrows in surprise. AI. She saw AI running to the door of the villa anxiously and nervously. She tried to crawl in through the surrounding windows, but the doors and windows were all locked. She had no choice but to knock on the door. As she knocked, she looked back, as if she was afraid that someone would find out. Chu Xiang went downstairs, opened the door, leaned against the door, and asked, "It's so late. What's the matter?" AI hurriedly entered the room and closed the door. She pulled Chu Xiang and said anxiously, "Sister Xiang, run quickly. Peng wants to kill you. If you don't leave now, it'll be too late." Chapter 133. Before Chu Xiang finished speaking, Xiao Jin and Xiaoqing attacked Peng at the same time. 21 GGD Peng immediately retreated and put up an earth shield to block the fireballs and water arrows. Xiao Jin and Xiaoqing didn't even look at each other as they attacked one above and one below, closely chasing after Peng so that he didn't have a chance to fight back. The lightning ability user sent out a chain of lightning to help Peng, but Chu Xiang threw out the heaven and earth mirror to block in front of him. In the blink of an eye, she appeared behind him and stabbed him with a dagger. The lightning ability user vigilantly dodged. He couldn't see the heaven and earth mirror, and his ability had disappeared twice in a row. Seeing that Chu Xiang couldn't figure out what she was doing, he simply used both his hands to fight her at close range with lightning. Chu Xiang hurriedly dodged. With a slight movement of her fingers, the ground instantly sank and buried the lightning ability user's feet. The lightning ability user was shocked. "You're an earth ability user?" Chu Xiang immediately set fire to his body. The lightning ability user immediately screamed and fell to the ground. He desperately patted his clothes and shouted in shock, "How is this possible? How can you have 2 abilities?" These words attracted everyone's attention. Peng's eyes lit up. While blocking the attacks of the Xiao brothers, he stared at Chu Xiang as if he was looking at a treasure. He attacked Xiaoqing at the risk of being injured and rushed at Chu Xiang while Xiaoqing dodged. Xiao Jin and Xiaoqing immediately chased after him. In the car, they held her gun tightly and aimed at the window. Taking advantage of the chaos on their side, she quickly took the opportunity to shoot at the lightning ability user. Out of 6 shots, she actually killed him. A exclaimed excitedly. She rubbed her aching hand, and changed to another gun to continue aiming. Her hand was numb, but she held the gun steadily and looked for an opportunity to shoot. There were still 2 people on Peng Peng's side. When they saw A, they were about to rush over but were stopped by Xiao Cheng. Xiao Jin and Chu Xiang attacked Peng Peng from the front and back. Peng Peng saw great benefits from them and shouted, "Capture them alive! Capture them all!" Chu Xiang snorted coldly. When Peng Peng raised his hand to release his ability, she slapped his hand with both hands. His entire hand was wrapped in a layer of metal. Peng Peng looked as if he had seen a ghost. 3 arcanas? Chu Xiang and Xiao Jin looked at each other. Taking advantage of his distraction, they each stabbed a dagger into his body. The metal cracked, and Peng Peng screamed as he staggered to counterattack. Rows of earth spikes appeared in front of them. Chu Xiang pressed one hand on the ground, and the earth spikes instantly turned into dust. Xiao Jin threw out a flaming chain from Peng Peng's neck to his heel. Peng Peng covered his entire body with an earth shield to resist the flames, but the high temperature still made him scream. A hurriedly aimed at him and fired. He didn't hit his head, but a few shots hit his earth shield, accelerating the disintegration of the earth shield. Xiao Jin also took out his gun, preparing to finish off Peng Peng in one shot while he couldn't escape. Chu Xiang saw the situation and went to help Xiao Cheng finish off the 2 people. At this moment, Peng Peng saw Xiao Jin's gun and his eyes turned fierce. Chu Xiang felt the spiritual energy surge and hurriedly turned back to warn them. "Be careful, he's going to self-destruct." She warned them, but it was too late. Peng Peng knew that he was going to die. Even if he died, he had to drag them down with him. With a bang, he exploded into pieces as fast as he could. Chu Xiang flew back and caught Xiao Cheng, who had been blown away, and landed safely. The 2 people Xiao Cheng was facing were directly killed by the explosion. Xiao Jin, who was closest to Peng Peng, suffered the heaviest impact. He was blown more than 10 meters away and only landed after crashing into a tree. The tree was broken. Chu Xiang hurriedly ran over to help Xiao Jin up. "How are you? Are you okay?" Xiao Jin coughed a few times and touched his body in confusion. "I think it's just a little painful. It's nothing serious." He touched the necklace on his neck and looked down to see that the pendant was already cracked beyond recognition. It had shattered when he touched it. "Brother!" Xiao Cheng also ran over. When he saw Xiao Jin's actions, he hurriedly took out his own necklace. He saw that it had shattered as well. He said in surprise, "Captain, you're too awesome. It really is a defensive talisman." "Oh right, I'll go take a look at AI." AI had fainted from the shock. Xiao Cheng condensed some water and dripped it on her face. She woke up with a start and cautiously grabbed Xiao Cheng to look out of the car. "What's wrong? Where are they?" "They're fine. They're fine now." Xiao Cheng smiled and praised her. "You're not bad. I only taught you a few times and you already know how to shoot. You even killed one. You're amazing." AI only relaxed when she saw that the enemies were all dead. She smiled embarrassedly. "No, it was Sister Xiang who knocked that person down. That's why I had a chance. It's already not easy. Come, I'll get some water for you to wash your hands." When Chu Xiang and Xiao Jin returned, they saw this scene. The young man and young woman were laughing together, as if using the water ability to wash their hands was something fun. Chu Xiang smiled. "Looks like you have a younger sister-in-law." Xiao Jin also smiled. "I've never seen him like anyone before. Now he's actually moved. But AI doesn't rely on others to protect her. Her personality is not bad." Chu Xiang rolled her eyes at him. "Are you afraid that I won't let Xiao Cheng take her? Do I look like such a bad person? Let's go. I just don't accept daughter flowers." Xiao Jin drove so that Chu Xiang could have a good rest. They talked about Dawn Base and also mentioned that Peng Peng might have a deal with Dawn Base. AI was silent for a moment. Then she said gratefully, "Thank you for bringing me along. Otherwise, I can't imagine what would have happened to me." She looked outside and said, "Actually, the girls in the base are very dangerous. We can't help them, but can we give them a warning?" She didn't wait for them to speak and hurriedly explained, "I know I can't go back. I'll leave some words on the roadside wall or somewhere. There are people in the base who can see it. It's up to fate whether it's a blessing or a curse. What do you think? Xiao Jin and Xiao Qing both looked at Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang looked around and said, "The gunshots just now have attracted zombies. Let's go to a safe place first. If there's a chance, of course we can." AI smiled happily. "Thank you, Sister Xiang." They were now enemies to that base. It was impossible for them to go back. Chu Xiang found a safe place to park the car. The four of them rested in the car for the night. After dawn, Xiaoqing took AI out to write a warning. It briefly stated that Peng Peng wanted to send the women in the base to Dawn Base to make them worry. The two of them wrote in several places. There were also women in the base who came out to look for supplies. They weren't afraid that they wouldn't see it. After that, the four of them chose a road and continued walking. They didn't know where there were more people or where it was more dangerous. They just chose a road that was wider and easier to walk on. It was best to have a chance to look for supplies. Food was a problem in the apocalypse. The things in the supermarket had a shelf life. Even the food that didn't spoil easily couldn't be stored for more than a few months. Therefore, they started to look for white rice and flour. They could store them for a longer time. Chu Xiang also pondered about this matter. She could run around and play, but she didn't feel comfortable without food. At this time, it was necessary to find a large and complete base because it could be used for farming. On the way, they met other teams a few times. Some were desperate, some were actively looking for a base, and some were just surviving like machines. During this time, they absorbed all the high-level crystal nuclei they got from Peng Peng. They also persevered and cultivated. Their strength increased a lot. Even AI was used to shooting. His marksmanship became more and more accurate. He even learned how to use a samurai sword. They also met a few villages. There weren't many people. It was a group of people who gathered together and worked hard to survive. It was actually very difficult to have a large base in the apocalypse because it required a strong enough fighting force. However, strong people were the most difficult to manage. They were all risking their lives to fight. Why should they listen to other people's orders? If the base wasn't safe enough, there was a possibility that something would happen at any time. It was unknown how many teams had been destroyed. They continued to walk like this. There were only 4 of them. They didn't meet anyone else that they appreciated and invited to join their team. 3 months later, they saw a sign for Dawn Base and another sign for Hope Base. At a fork in the road, they pointed to 2 different paths. Chu Xiang stopped the car and opened the map. If you want to continue, you have to choose one of these 2 paths. Let's pass by the base and take a look. Which one do you want to go? Xiaoqing immediately said, "Dawn. Let's see what kind of place Dawn is and how dark it is." AI pushed him. Why would we go to that place? We already knew that the managers of Dawn weren't good people. If we take that path, we'll miss Hope Base. I think we should go to Hope Base. If it's good, we can stay and rest for a while. We can trade with them. What about you, Sister Xiang? I think so too. Chu Xiang nodded. At least we have a preliminary understanding of Dawn. Hope Base hasn't been heard of. Why don't we go and take a look? Xiao Jin stretched and smiled. Then let's go. I'll drive. Xiang, you rest for a while. Chu Xiang and Xiao Jin changed seats. They set off again and chose to go to Hope Base. There were signs along the way. From the clean and beautiful signs, they seemed to be doing well in the base. Further ahead, there were fields on both sides of the road. They were surrounded by earth walls to prevent zombies from stepping on them and attacking them. There were still people farming in the fields. When they heard the sound of the car, they stood up and looked around. Chu Xiang paid attention to their condition. Although they were very thin, their eyes were clear and alert. Their mental state was very good. This showed that they weren't having false dreams, nor were they in pain or despair. Instead, they were living a very active life. They even had a fighting spirit. To be able to make them in such a state, the managers of Dawn Base had done a very good job. Xiao Jin parked the car outside the gate of the base. The entire wall of the base was made of cement. It was 5 meters high. The gate was made of steel and was tightly shut. The 5 people patrolling on the wall stood up when they saw them. The man in the middle shouted, "The people in the car, please get out. Who are you? What are you doing in Hope Base?" Chu Xiang and the others got out of the car. They spread their hands to show that they were harmless. Xiao Jin shouted. We passed by and saw the sign of your base. We want to stay here for a few days. Xiaoqing looked at AI and thought for 2 seconds. He said to the man expressionlessly, if the base is good, we also want to stay. AI turned to look at him in surprise. What do you mean? Who wants to stay? Me. Don't you want to be safe? Xiaoqing replied. I kicked him fiercely. The man looked at them. Hope Base welcomes you. But to ensure everyone's safety, we need to do some checks. Please wait a moment. Chapter 134. Hope Base was perfect in all aspects. The people in the base checked Chu Xiang and the others, and invited them into the base. However, the base was actually divided into 2 parts. One part was for the people living in the base, and the other part was for the outsiders when they first arrived. The outsiders had to gain the trust of the base before they could enter the residential area. This ensured the safety of the base to the greatest extent, and it didn't make the people feel uncomfortable. Chu Xiang and the others' belongings were checked and confirmed to be harmless, so they kept them for themselves. The base didn't want any personal belongings, and even gave them some food to express their welcome. The food was from the base's own vegetables. It was especially fresh and showed the strength and characteristics of the base. The people in the base weren't very warm to them, but they weren't very cold either. They just treated them politely, friendly, and didn't let their guard down. They observed for a while, and Chu Xiang felt that this base wasn't bad. They could stay for a few more days and rest. She said, the vegetables they grow are very good. We can change some and make some salted vegetables. After we leave, we can eat for a long time. Remember this place. Later, we'll go to other places. If there's no food, we can come back. Okay. Xiao Jin nodded and made a mark on the map. He looked around carefully and remembered the location. Xiaoqing nudged AI, who was silent. Why are you unhappy? The captain is doing well here. Isn't it suitable for you to stay here? Maybe when the base grows stronger, you can continue to do research. Wouldn't it be great if you don't have to run around? AI glared at him. It's so good. You want to stay? Of course not. I still have to follow my brother and the captain to kill zombies. You've learned so much. You can only use it if you stay in the base. Xiaoqing avoided AI's gaze. He felt a little uncomfortable. However, he felt that he couldn't leave his brother, and he couldn't always bring AI to take risks. This was the best result. How could AI not see through his thoughts? She felt funny and angry at the same time. She hit him hard, got up, and ran back to her room. Chu Xiang threw a crystal nucleus at Xiaoqing's head. Why aren't you going to comfort her? Xiaoqing rubbed where he was hit and muttered, I'm not going. Isn't it a waste of talent for her to follow us? We can't protect her anymore. With her skills, she'll be a dead end if she meets a high-level zombie. Xiao Jin looked at the map and didn't even raise his head. Then let's keep her. Maybe she'll be lucky and won't meet a hypocrite like Peng Peng again. Maybe someone in the base would be willing to protect her and help her when the zombies attacked. By the way, she might be able to eat and drink well in the base. She might even be valued and be allowed to do research and live a comfortable life. Xiaoqing stopped and frowned. Xiao Jin laughed and slapped the map on his head. Don't be stupid. If you can't protect her, do you think the base can protect her? This world base is not necessarily safer than the outside world. Do you think they are willing to let you in? Xiaoqing was speechless. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was unreliable for AI to stay alone. If she really encountered danger, there was nothing he could do. He fidgeted uneasily and went to find AI in less than 2 minutes. Xiao Jin shook his head. Cheng is asking for trouble. Now there's something to be coaxed. Chu Xiang looked at him and laid on the sofa with her eyes closed. You seem to be very experienced. Don't call me your brother. Do you want to walk around the base and see if there's a girl that moves your heart? How come it's me? What about you? Why don't you go and see if there's a man that moves your heart? Xiao Jin laughed. What kind of man can move your heart? Why can't I think of one? What moves my heart? It's the one who catches my eye in the crowd. This world has become so dirty. The only thing that I can see is probably zombies. I don't have such a heavy taste. Chu Xiang pulled the blanket over her body and said in a low voice, I'm going to sleep for a while. Wake me up when it's time to eat. Okay. Xiao Jin folded the map and put it down. He looked at her for a while, and quietly went to the other side of the room. He didn't want to disturb her. Unexpectedly, less than half a minute after they were quiet, there was a commotion outside. Chu Xiang immediately opened her eyes and sat up. Go and call Xiao Cheng and the others. I'll go out and take a look. Xiao Jin responded and quickly ran upstairs. Chu Xiang went out and saw that the outsiders nearby were as confused as she was. The people in the base had all picked up their weapons and looked nervous. Chu Xiang ran to the manager of the base, Zhou Zhen, and asked, What happened? An enemy attack? Zhou Zhen glanced at her. This is between our base and Dawn base. Stay away and don't get involved. Don't get hurt. Dawn base. Chu Xiang was a little surprised. They had chosen this place at the fork in the road, because they felt that Dawn base wasn't a good place. They didn't expect that Dawn base and Hope base had a grudge against each other. Chu Xiang watched from a distance. Before he knew what the conflict between the two sides was, it was best not to get involved. After all, it had nothing to do with them. They were just passing by. There were quite a number of people from Dawn base. There were at least 10 metahumans and a truck full of fully armed soldiers. They started fighting with Hope base after exchanging a few words. The battle was extremely intense, and it was a fight to the death. Xiao Jin and the others found Chu Xiang and asked in a low voice, What's going on? Chu Xiang looked at the group of people fighting fiercely. It seems that Dawn base wants to annex Hope base. Hope base doesn't want to, so they have to fight back. According to them, this isn't the first time they've fought. It's just that there hasn't been a final result. Chu Xiang was halfway through her sentence when she suddenly stopped because she saw two familiar people. She narrowed her eyes and looked at the man and woman in the distance. She dug out their information from the original owner's memory. The girl was called Yaoli. She was a good friend of the original owner. The boy was their classmate, Su Zhou. At that time, 7 or 8 of them escaped together. Yaoli stayed with the original owner. She was very opinionated and always made the right decision. Later, Yaoli suddenly ignored the original owner. The original owner looked for Yaoli twice, but Yaoli found excuses to brush her off. Before the original owner could figure out what was going on, she was bullied by a male classmate. At that time, the original owner desperately resisted and asked Yaoli for help. But Yaoli and the other classmates turned their heads and pretended not to see. They refused to help. After that, they left the original owner and let a few zombies into the house. They didn't leave any food. They wanted the original owner to die there. Chu Xiang moved 2 steps to the side so that Yaoli and Suzhou couldn't see her. She whispered, I hope the people here can work together. I can see that Zhouzhan is very popular. They help each other and protect each other. They have a good relationship and are working hard to survive together. I think we should help them. If they are annexed by Dawn base, they won't have a good ending. Then let's do it. Xiao Jin moved his wrist and took the lead to join the battle. Xiao Qing followed closely behind. Before leaving, he stuffed the gun into AI's hand and said, Follow the captain closely. Don't run around by yourself. AI moved closer and asked curiously, Sister Xiang, what are we doing now? Chu Xiang crossed her arms and leaned against the wall. She smiled and said, We're just looking around. The 2 of them are enough. Hope is also very strong. Xiao Jin and Xiao Cheng were already cultivators. They both had spiritual roots and high endowments. They had also absorbed so many high-level crystal cores. Their strength was definitely the strongest in this group of people. As soon as the 2 of them joined the battle, the situation became one-sided. In less than 10 minutes, the outcome was obvious. Dawn base didn't take this loss. When they found out that Hope had strong people, they tested the strength of the Xiao brothers and retreated. Hope fought with them a few times. Every time it was a draw. This time they didn't chase after them. They retreated after beating them out of Hope's area. Zhou Zhen thanked the Xiao brothers gratefully. Xiao Jin smiled and said, Our captain told us to. If you want to thank someone, thank our captain. They walked back to where Chu Xiang was standing. They didn't see Chu Xiang. Xiao Jin looked around and asked AI, "Where's Chu Xiang?" AI shook his head. "I don't know. Sister Xiang had something to do just now. She told us not to wait for her. She'll come back when she's done." Zhou Zhen immediately asked, "Should we send someone to look for her? Chu Xiang isn't familiar with this area, is she? If she accidentally enters Dawn Base's area, it could be very troublesome. After all, Chu Xiang is very beautiful." AI waved his hand. "Don't worry about that. Sister Xiang is the strongest in our team. I haven't seen anyone who can make her suffer." Since they didn't need to look for her, Zhou Zhen didn't bother. He called everyone over to thank them for their help. Then he gave them a basket of vegetables to express his gratitude. He sincerely invited them to stay in the base and hoped that they would consider it. Although Xiao Jin wanted to know where Chu Xiang went, he didn't know where to start. He could only return to his residence and wait. Chu Xiang quietly followed Yao Li back and entered Dawn Base without anyone noticing. On the way, she discovered that Yao Li was actually a space ability user. She took out food and water out of thin air for everyone, and made extra weapons disappear. This was the first time she saw a space ability user. She couldn't figure it out. Other abilities were obtained by relying on spiritual roots. What did space ability rely on? Yao Li carried so many things, so her space definitely wouldn't be there. This was very illogical. She could see that the people of Dawn Base were very polite to Yao Li. That Suzhou had become an ability user, and was now Yao Li's personal bodyguard. Yao Li was very valued. After entering the base, Chu Xiang couldn't walk around openly. She waved her hand and the heaven and earth mirror appeared. She had it follow Yao Li. Then she hid in a dark room and observed Yao Li's situation through the heaven and earth mirror. After Yao Li returned to her room, she complained to Suzhou. "What's with those two people? Where did they come from? They made us go through a lot of trouble." Suzhou frowned. "I think I heard Zhou Zhen call them Xiaojin and Xiaocheng. I've never heard of them. They should be newcomers, right? Xiaocheng." Yao Li's eyes lit up, then widened. "Wait, one of them is called Xiaojin? He's not crippled?" Suzhou was puzzled. "What's wrong? You know him?" "No, I just heard from others that Xiaojin was in danger. He risked his life to save his life. Why is he so powerful now?" Yao Li replied casually. She lowered her head and looked serious. The heaven and earth mirror moved over, and Chu Xiang took in all of Yao Li's reactions. She recalled the scene when she first met Xiao Jin. Did this Yao Li know something? But Xiao Jin had never encountered a situation where he could become crippled. Chu Xiang looked at Yao Li and thought of a possibility. Then she thought of another very important matter. Chapter 135. When the original owner and Yao Li escaped together, Yao Li had helped the original owner, so the original owner had always been grateful. During that time, Yao Li expressed that she liked the original owner's jade pendant, but it was passed down by the original owner's ancestors, so of course she couldn't give it to Yao Li. The original owner felt very guilty about this, so she gave more food to Yao Li. She even thought of finding a similar pendant for Yao Li in a jewelry store, but who knew that the pendant would disappear without a trace? The original owner didn't even have time to feel sad before she was almost humiliated and lost her life. Chu Xiang had transmigrated many times, so she had seen many things about the soul. The moment she thought of the jade pendant, she suspected Yao Li. This Yao Li was either reborn or transmigrated. When she heard Xiao Jin's name, her reaction was too abnormal. Chu Xiang used the heaven and earth mirror to observe Yao Li, not letting go of any of her expressions. When Suzhou went to get the food, Yao Li started to get anxious. She kept pacing back and forth in the room, occasionally saying, "Impossible, and how could this be?" Her fingers unconsciously rubbed the jade pendant on her neck. Yao Li anxiously paced around a few times, then put all the important things in the room into her space. Only then did she feel more at ease. Chu Xiang also confirmed that the jade pendant was a space treasure. Yao Li couldn't refine it, so it could only be used like this and couldn't be hidden. She waited for a while until Suzhou came back. Most of the people in the base had gone to eat, so she stealthily avoided them and sneaked into their room. "Who is it?" Suzhou vigilantly stood up and asked. Chu Xiang walked out from the shadows and smiled at them. It's me. The two instantly widened their eyes, but they didn't have time to react before Chu Xiang knocked them unconscious. Chu Xiang pulled off the necklace on Yao Li's neck and used her spiritual power to immediately break the blood contract between Yao Li and the jade pendant. She then saw the things in the space. Yao Li should be Dawn Base's warehouse. There was a lot of food in the space, which should be kept fresh to prevent it from spoiling. There were also some weapons and medicine, which should be supplies for the battle outside. There were also a lot of other supplies, and some were stored separately. They were all good things, obviously Yao Li's private stash. Chu Xiang put away the jade pendant, looked at the two unconscious people on the ground, and left the base with one in each hand. She found an abandoned warehouse. Other than a door, there wasn't even a gap. Chu Xiang caught a dozen zombies and tied them together. She smashed Suzhou's dantian with her palm. Suzhou screamed and woke up. He was in so much pain that he was sweating and his face was pale. When he saw Chu Xiang and the zombie, he was so scared that he stepped back and shouted, "What are you doing? I'm not the one who harmed you." Yao Li was startled awake by his voice. When she saw Chu Xiang, she was shocked beyond words. Chu Xiang? You're still alive? That's great. Where is my pendant? Yao Li's first reaction was to reach for her jade pendant. When she realized that it was missing, her expression changed. She stared at Chu Xiang, her face filled with panic. Chu Xiang recalled Yao Li's expression and said casually, "It's the end of the world. Survival is the most important thing. So what if a pendant is missing?" You took it, didn't you? You must have taken it. Give it back to me." Yao Li didn't care about her fear. She got up and threw herself at Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang nimbly dodged. Yao Li didn't have time to react and crashed into a zombie. She screamed and pushed the zombie away in a hurry. She fell to the ground and kept stepping back. Suzhou anxiously wanted to save her, but he realized that he had lost his ability. He said in horror, "Chu Xiang, what did you do to me? Why is my ability gone? How did you get us out of the base?" Chu Xiang tilted his head and leaned against the door with a smile. "So what if you know? You can't change the outcome." The two looked at the zombies and finally realized that Chu Xiang was here for revenge. He wanted them dead. They shrank into the corner and no longer cared about the pendant or the ability. They scrambled to explain what happened. At that time, they didn't save the original owner. Yao Li, who stole the treasure, might have added fuel to the fire. What could they explain now? It was nothing more than sophistry. Chu Xiang patiently listened to them until their voices gradually weakened. Panic was written all over their faces. He smiled and said, "You didn't kill me, so I won't kill you. You helped catch those zombies, didn't you? Well, I also caught a few for you. Consider it a return gift. I was lucky to not die at that time. And now I have the chance to return the favor. If you don't die today, you can come find me in the future." Chu Xiang waved her hand and cut the rope on the zombie's body. She then waved at the two of them and closed the door of the warehouse. No. Chu Xiang. Ah. Yao Li screamed and ran to the door, but she was hit by a zombie in the middle of the warehouse. She reached out to the door. She couldn't believe that the smiling Chu Xiang would do such a vicious thing. But the truth was that the zombie's teeth had sunk into her flesh. She was shocked, regretful, and filled with hatred, but it was useless. The door was close, and she would never be able to escape. In her second life, she took advantage of the opportunity and obtained a high status by being a prophet. But in the end, she was still defeated. Chu Xiang leaned against the door and listened to the chaos inside. She took out the jade pendant and sat cross-legged. She refined the pendant and merged it with the heaven and earth mirror. Her spatial magic treasure had been destroyed by the lightning tribulation when she was crossing the tribulation. She was lucky to be able to escape with the heaven and earth mirror. After that, she didn't transmigrate to the cultivation world, so she naturally didn't have the chance to refine another spatial magic treasure. She didn't expect to find one in this world. She was really lucky. After the noise in the warehouse disappeared, Chu Xiang went in and killed all the zombies, including Yao Li and Suzhou, who had already turned into zombies. Of course, she wouldn't give them a chance to escape. Cutting the weeds and eliminating the roots and leaving no enemies was a necessary lesson for a devil cultivator. Chu Xiang looked at the results of a night's hard work with satisfaction. She clapped her hands and returned to Hope Base in a good mood. Xiao Jin and the others were waiting for her in the living room. As soon as they saw her, they immediately went up to her and looked her up and down. "Are you okay? What were you doing for so long?" Chu Xiang told the three of them to sit on the sofa. She smiled and said, "I went to find something good to show you." She waved her hand, and a pile of things appeared in the living room. Seeing the three shocked expressions, she patted the bag of rice in front of her and smiled. "How is it? With the spatial dimension, it'll be much more convenient in the future. I can bring a portable warehouse with me wherever I go." "Mine. Are these all real?" Xiao Cheng and AI stood up at the same time. They touched a few things in disbelief. They were extremely shocked. Xiao Jin was more steady, but he also secretly took a breath. "There's actually something like a spatial dimension. How did you get it? Won't it cause trouble?" "When have I ever been afraid of trouble?" Chu Xiang gave them some fruits and put the other things back into the spatial dimension. She shrugged. "It was originally my spatial dimension. I was cheated by someone before, so I can take revenge today. Oh right, there's a pile of crystal nuclei here. You guys should quickly absorb them. These two can exchange for some fresh food with the base and leave." Xiaoqing looked at AI and said, "Why don't you come with us? You see, this base always fights. It's also very dangerous. It's not very reliable." Now you remember me. Why don't you die of stupidity?" AI's face turned stiff. She stepped on his foot and ran back to her room. This time, Xiaoqing didn't need to be reminded. He immediately reacted and chased after her. He squeezed him before AI closed the door. The love between a young man and a young woman was always endlessly sweet and beautiful. They quarreled like they were flirting. The next time they saw them, they would smile again. Because Xiao Jin and Xiao Cheng had fought for Hope Base before, the people in the base were very friendly to them. They would smile and greet them when they saw them. There were even children who ran over to give them gifts. Seeing the smiles on their faces, it really matched the name of their base. They were full of hope and used smiles to erase all the sorrow of the apocalypse. Chu Xiang and Zhou Zhen had the idea of using resources to exchange for vegetables. There were many people in Hope Base, so they didn't have much surplus vegetables. However, they also had a shortage of resources. It was necessary to exchange some vegetables for resources. Zhou Zhen thought about it briefly and agreed. He was about to ask someone to pick the vegetables when he saw a mutant covered in dirt running in. He was covered in injuries and said weakly, "Uncle Zhen, our things were stolen by Dawn Base. And Yusin, she and the others were captured by Dawn Base." "What?" Zhou Zhen's face was full of anger. He immediately shouted, "Everyone bring your weapons. Come with me to Dawn Base to save people." Zhou Yusin was Zhou Zhen's daughter. She was a metal-type mutant. She was very good at fighting and was very efficient. She was also very beautiful. It was easy to imagine what would happen to her if she fell into Dawn Base. Zhou Zhen suppressed his impatience and asked about the situation in detail when everyone gathered. Chu Xiang happened to hear from the side. It turned out that it had something to do with her. Because she had taken care of Yao Li and Suzhou, the two of them disappeared without a trace. This made the people of Dawn Base very anxious. What made them even more anxious was that Yao Li had disappeared. Their warehouse full of resources was also gone. This morning, Zhou Yusin had brought people to collect resources early in the morning. When they returned, Dawn Base had stolen the resources and captured them. At that time, Hope Base had played dirty. They had to be prepared to fight to the end if they dared to touch their people. This was a misunderstanding. Hope Base had stolen Yao Li. Chu Xiang said to the anxious Zhou Zhen, "Our team will go too. Don't worry, we will help you save her." Zhou Zhen had never seen Chu Xiang fight, but he had seen how powerful the Xiao brothers were. He was pleasantly surprised and thanked her. He also remembered that Chu Xiang was the strongest person in their team. Although it didn't seem like it, he still had high hopes. He left some people to guard the base. This was the first time they had taken the initiative to attack Dawn Base. Chu Xiang drove closely behind Zhou Zhen's car. She briefly explained the layout of Dawn Base to Xiao Jin and the others. Then, she analyzed where the leader's daughter, Zhou Yusin, would be locked up if she was captured. She arranged the direction of the attack for the three of them. Xiao Jin, you will be responsible for rescuing Zhou Yusin safely later. Xiao Cheng, you take AI and help Zhou Zhen. Be careful. Sister Xiang, what about you? AI asked curiously. Chu Xiang smiled and said, Me? Of course, I will meet those people with abilities. I haven't fought to my heart's content in a long time. Even if Hope Base is short on resources, I should go and help them move some things. Consider it an apology. The car drove to the entrance of Dawn Base. Chu Xiang flicked a stone and broke the Dawn sign in half. It fell to the ground and stirred up a cloud of dust. It has begun. Chapter 136. Chu Xiang got out of the car and threw out a dagger, hitting the person on the wall who was aiming at them. Xiao Jin followed closely behind, sniping continuously. Only then did the two of them get out of the car and throw out a fireball to force back the enemy sniper. Zhou Zhen led everyone in a fierce attack, loudly commanding the armored car to forcefully smash through the door. His daughter was in the enemy's hands, and he was burning with anxiety. He didn't care about the loss of supplies at all, and shot out a large amount of bullets, as if they didn't cost money. Chu Xiang gestured to Xiao Jin and Xiao Cheng, and the three of them quickly fought their way to the bottom of the city wall. Chu Xiang used the wall as a foothold to climb up the city wall. After repelling one person, she bent over and lowered her hands. Xiao Jin and Xiao Cheng clasped their hands together, and when AI stepped on their wrists, they threw AI upwards, directly into Zheng Chuxiang's hands. Zheng Chuxiang brought AI into the base, and Xiao Jin and Xiao Cheng also used the momentum to climb up the city wall. While the two brothers were cleaning up the guards on the wall, Chu Xiang had already taken care of the people guarding the gate, and opened the gate completely. Zhou Zhen and the others who saw this scene with their own eyes were extremely shocked, especially when Chu Xiang jumped over the city wall and killed the enemy in a clean and efficient manner. This was a display of extremely strong individual combat ability, a valiance that they had never seen or heard of before. They were so shocked that they forgot to react. It was only when Chu Xiang whistled that they came back to their senses and rushed into Dawn Base. The Xiao brothers were helping them, and with a strong ability user like Chu Xiang, Hope Base's morale was greatly boosted. As soon as they rushed in, they looked like they were going to kill in all directions. Dawn Base's leader, He Lin, calmly led people to fight. Zhou Zhen immediately shouted, He Lin, hand over my people and supplies. He Lin stared at him and gritted his teeth. Zhou Zhen, you dare to trick me? Give me back my space ability user, and I'll consider letting your daughter live. Otherwise, I'll make her the most lowly woman in our base. You dare. Zhou Zhen's eyes were red, and he angrily shouted as he attacked. I've never seen your space ability user before. You're just looking for an excuse to swallow us up. Using this kind of method is too despicable and shameless. Fine, if you want to fight, I'll accompany you to the end. Let's see who's going to die today. He Lin firmly believed that Zhou Zhen had stolen Yaoli, which meant that he had stolen Dawn Base's warehouse. He wanted to kill Zhou Zhen immediately, so he ordered the two strongest metahumans in Dawn Base to attack. Chu Xiang pulled Zhou Zhen aside. I'll take care of these two. You take care of He Lin. Zhou Zhen was taken aback. When he raised his head, he saw that Chu Xiang had already gone up to meet them. She attacked one person in each hand, forcing the two people to retreat step by step. She did not seem to be exerting much effort. He was overjoyed and immediately led his men to attack He Lin and the others. He Lin had never heard of Chu Xiang before. He was shocked and angry, but he didn't have time to think. He could only focus on the battle. Chu Xiang was up against two metahumans. One of them was metal type, while the other was lightning type. Their strength was indeed impressive. They should be experts that Dawn Base had deliberately nurtured with high-level crystal nuclei. However, Chu Xiang's magic was nothing compared to the few techniques that they had studied. Her strength completely suppressed them. The two of them had been calling the wind and calling the rain in the base since the start of the apocalypse. They were respected by Dawn Base. Suddenly, they met a strong opponent like Chu Xiang. When Chu Xiang's attacks became fiercer and fiercer, they subconsciously ran towards a place that they thought was safe. Chu Xiang was like a cat catching a mouse. She followed them unhurriedly and effortlessly found the place where they had hidden the treasure. Xiao Jin followed Chu Xiang's plan and left the battle early. He went straight to the place where the base was locked up and defeated the guards. He successfully rescued the captured people of Hope Base, except for Zhou Yusin. Where's Zhou Yusin? Does anyone know where she is? Xiao Jin frowned and asked the rescued people. A few of them were seriously injured. They supported each other and anxiously said, "They took Yusin away to torture her to vent their anger. We don't know where they took her. We only heard that they said something about the underground." Xiao Jin immediately ran out. When he saw the people of Dawn Base, he grabbed them and interrogated them about the place where Zhou Yusin was tortured. If he couldn't get anything out of her, he would ask another person. He quickly investigated all the suspicious places in the base. 10 minutes later, he finally caught a weakling. He successfully found out where Zhou Yusin was in the basement and forced his way in to rescue her. Zhou Yusin was fighting desperately with a strong man. It seemed that she had been drugged. She was dizzy and couldn't use her ability well. She kept hitting empty air. However, her desperate attacks didn't give the strong man any advantage. At most, she was hit more times. The corners of her mouth were bleeding. She was in a sorry state. Xiao Jin defeated the strong man in a few moves. Seeing that Zhou Yusin was still attacking, he skillfully avoided her and went behind her to control her. "Okay, I'm Xiao Jin. I'm here to save you. Relax." Xiao Jin. Zhou Yusin shook her head and looked back at him. When she saw him clearly, she sighed in relief. Her body went limp. "Xiao Jin, save me. Save me. Don't worry. It's okay. You're safe." Xiao Jin patted her back and carried her out of the basement quickly. He headed towards the door so that Zhou Zhen could be at ease. Zhou Zhen saw that his daughter and the people of the base had been rescued. His heart was finally at ease. However, his attacks became more violent. He had to take this opportunity to determine the winner with He Lin. He Lin was obviously panicking. He didn't know where Chu Xiang had taken his two most powerful trump cards. He used Zhou Zhen's daughter as his final bargaining chip, but she was also rescued. Seeing that his side had lost their advantage, He Lin was anxious. He said angrily, "Zhou Zhen, you're too sinister. You think you can do whatever you want just because you found some external help? You stole my space ability user and pretended not to know. What, you want to monopolize Dawn Base's mobile warehouse and not tell your people?" He Lin shouted very loudly to sow discord between Zhou Zhen and the people of Hope Base. Many people were distracted when they heard him. After all, everyone in Hope Base knew that Dawn Base had a space ability user. If someone really controlled Yaoli, wouldn't that mean that they had stolen a mobile warehouse? They didn't believe that Zhou Zhen wanted to monopolize this warehouse. However, this was a huge benefit. Anyone would be tempted. Zhou Zhen saw this and said angrily, "Don't throw dirty water at me. I, Zhou Zhen, won't deny what I've done. I didn't see it. How can I steal it?" He really didn't steal it. Because the space is with me. Chu Xiang came back after making a round in the base. She put He Lin's weapon into the space and personally confirmed her words. He Lin's eyes widened in shock. "You?" He looked down at his hands in disbelief. "How can you take things out of thin air? Yaoli can't do that. Why should I tell you?" Chu Xiang put all the weapons within 10 meters of her into the space, including those from Dawn Base and Hope Base. Everyone within 10 meters of her lost half of their combat power. They all panicked. In the next second, no one saw how Chu Xiang did it. She suddenly appeared behind He Lin, took out a rope, tied He Lin up, and threw him to Zhou Zhen. She clapped her hands and smiled. "To catch bandits, first catch the leader. All right." She raised her hand, and a large number of resources appeared in the open space. She smiled at Zhou Zhen and said, "The matter with the realm is my personal grudge. I have dragged you into this fight. These things and Dawn Base are yours. My apologies." Chu Xiang's words were concise. It didn't take much time for the matter to be resolved. Everyone didn't have time to think before it was over. Zhou Zhen ordered everyone to capture Helin's subordinates and appease the ordinary residents. While doing this, he couldn't help but look at Chu Xiang. The others were the same. From time to time, they would turn their eyes to Chu Xiang, but no one mentioned anything about the space. How did that space end up in Chu Xiang's hands? Was it a superpower? Why was it possible to switch people? None of them dared to ask. Chu Xiang's move just now was to intimidate them. She took all the weapons within 10 meters in an instant, which was equivalent to cutting off one of their hands. Who would dare to have any ideas about her? Moreover, Chu Xiang had to understand that giving them a batch of resources and the entire Dawn base was an apology. This matter was settled. If they weren't satisfied with this, then Dawn base's fate would be the same as Hope base's. Chu Xiang's method of using a stick and a carrot had settled the matter. No one mentioned the space again. Zhou Zhen didn't have any other thoughts. After all, Chu Xiang had helped him solve a crisis that had troubled him for a long time. Even his daughter was saved by Chu Xiang's people. Zhou Zhen had to integrate the two bases, plan the expansion of the base, and arrange for personnel. He was so busy that he didn't even have time to rest. There was no need for Chu Xiang and the others to stay. With the portable space, their food problem was solved. Naturally, they didn't want to stay in the messy base. Chu Xiang and Xiaocheng reinforced the car and asked Xiao Jin to take the resources to exchange for fresh fruits and vegetables. Zhou Yusin was now in charge of these internal affairs. When she heard Xiao Jin's request, she was surprised. "You're leaving? Why? Now that the base has expanded, it will only be more stable and safer than before. It will also develop better in the future. Why don't you stay?" Xiao Jin thought for a moment. "Because it's boring." Boring? What kind of answer is that? Zhou Yusin felt that it was inconceivable. However, she suddenly thought of Chu Xiang and the Xiao brothers' strong fighting abilities. They must have experienced many exciting things outside. Staying in the base and living a normal life seemed very boring. She asked eagerly, "Can you count me in? My superpower is very strong. I can fight very well. I won't be a burden to you. I also know how to cook. My cooking is very delicious. Let me join your team. I won't cause you any trouble. Is that okay?" When Xiao Jin saved her, he saw how she used all her strength. Although she missed many times because of the drugs, the power of her superpower and her skill in using it were very strong. Xiao Jin thought for a moment and raised his chin at her. "Come with me. Whether you join or not, it's up to the captain." Zhou Yusin immediately followed him excitedly. She was all smiles. "So Sister Xiang is really your captain? She's so amazing. She's my idol. What kind of person does she like? You and me. I really want to join your team and travel around with you." Xiao Jin regretted it for a moment. It was enough that there was one talkative person in the team. Now there was another one who didn't seem to like silence. If these two girls chatted and Chu Xiang joined, the scene would be unimaginable. However, it was too late for him to regret. When Zhou Yusin saw Chu Xiang, she flew over like a happy bird. Chapter 137. Zhou Yusin was very good at fighting. She was efficient and didn't need anyone to worry about her. After she expressed her desire to join the team, Chu Xiang agreed without much consideration. Although Zhou Zhen was reluctant, Chu Xiang's team was the strongest he had ever seen. It was a great opportunity for Zhou Yusin to be with them, so he naturally supported her wholeheartedly. Zhou Zhen brought everyone in the base to hold a farewell dinner for their team. It was also a good time to relax and celebrate Hope Base's victory. Everyone in the base was very grateful to Chu Xiang's team. Everyone sincerely expressed their gratitude to Chu Xiang and invited her to live in the base in the future. The scene was very warm. Chu Xiang didn't expect that she would receive so much goodwill just by casually solving some problems. She had a very good impression of the base. Before she left, she gave them some weapons. Chu Xiang had a portable space, so all the team's belongings were stored in it. The five of them easily drove a car and set off. They felt as if they were going on an outing. They walked aimlessly and met many people. There were teams like them, and there were also strongholds and bases. There were those with evil intentions, and those with kind hearts. Those who provoked them were dealt with by their methods. Those who helped them out of kindness received generous rewards. The few of them had never thought of giving the team a name, but their fame had spread far and wide through battle after battle. Even people who had never seen them before had heard of their name through various channels, calling them the Azura team. Among them, Chu Xiang, who laughed like a god but attacked the most ruthlessly, was the most famous. Because the other 4 members of the team obeyed her orders and respected her from the bottom of their hearts. And she was really very strong. Gradually, people began to call her Queen Chu. This title spread more and more widely, and became more and more mysterious. Their team was almost frightening. When Ji Rong heard his own name, he laughed like crazy. Zhou Yusin patted Xiao Jin's shoulder and teased. They call you Border Poker Face. Don't. It's quite similar. You laugh too little, don't you? Xiao Jin was puzzled and said. Why are you laughing? Who has such a low laughing point like you? Isn't it good to have a low laughing point? I'm the happiest person in the team. Zhou Yusin always had a smile on her face. In this aspect, she was absolutely confident. She also worshipped Chu Xiang. Sister Xiang's name is the most famous, and it's especially nice to hear. Chu Xiang nodded. I also think it's very nice. Since they've helped us spread the name, we'll call it that from now on. It's quite interesting. Good, they call me Border Spear God Sweetheart, haha. AI thought of his Chinibu nickname and laughed. However, the title of Spear God was simply too high of an affirmation for her, so she accepted the title. Xiao Cheng was listening to their laughter while driving. He tapped the steering wheel with his fingers and hummed softly. When he looked up, he suddenly saw 2 high-level zombies in front of him. He hurriedly turned to avoid them and shouted, Be careful, they are level 5. They all stopped smiling and jumped out of the car to face the 2 zombies. This time, the attack of the zombies was particularly fierce. It felt more powerful than the zombies of the same level in other places. Chu Xiang didn't make a move. She leaned on the door and watched them fight. She looked at the zombies a few times and narrowed her eyes. AI, look at the wrists of those 2 zombies. Wrists? AI quickly focused and carefully observed. After a few seconds, his eyes widened in surprise. Sister Xiang. Their wrists are implanted with needles, and there are traces of experiments. They are experimental subjects. Yes. Chu Xiang turned over the roof of the car, and stood on top of it to look around. She pointed to a place. Drive over there and see. Something is wrong there. It's different from other places. Okay. AI quickly climbed into the driver's seat and started the car. The 2 got out of the car and checked the surroundings. They quickly found several miniature cameras used to detect the outside situation. Then they found an extremely hidden entrance. Chu Xiang asked AI to step back a few steps. She slapped the closed door, and directly sent the door flying. She and AI rushed in and saw more than a dozen panicked researchers. A group of people wearing white coats and masks kept retreating and said nervously, What are you doing? You can take the food here, but you can't destroy it. Get out. AI Zhen was shocked. Sister Xiang, this is a secret research institute. She ran forward and looked at the instruments and items on the table. She exclaimed again, They are all the latest and the best. Then she suddenly stopped and looked at those people with a frown. What are you studying here? Those zombies outside weren't created by you guys, were they? The researcher in the front waved his hand. No, we are studying genetic enhancement and some biological. Why are you telling her this? She doesn't understand. A researcher behind interrupted him and said coldly, We didn't create the zombies. We just found that the zombies have genetic enhancement, and included them as research objects. What are you doing? Take the food and leave quickly. Don't disturb us. Chu Xiang walked in with her hands behind her back and looked at their experiment table. She said casually, How do you know we don't understand? You didn't create the zombies, but the 2 level 5 zombies outside were strengthened by you, right? Why? Did you let them out to harm people? They ran out on their own. A researcher explained and lowered his head guiltily. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't beat them or catch them. We also lost 2 colleagues. I'm sorry. You met those 2 zombies? Then how did you get out of danger? A researcher asked doubtfully. AI snorted. Just those two won't be able to hurt us. There are fewer and fewer humans. Survival is difficult enough. You are still blindly studying and strengthening those monsters. You are so careless. If you have the time, why don't you study how to eliminate zombies? The researchers looked at each other and finally said, "That's not our research. We have been studying genetic enhancement. Besides, we can't hold on for long." These people didn't seem to have any fighting power, so staying here was just waiting for death. They insisted on studying to pass the time. It was unknown whether they were stubborn or stupid. They actually strengthened 2 level 5 zombies. AI said with a cold face, "You're lucky you met our team. Otherwise, who knows how many people your 2 level 5 zombies would have killed. You've sinned." AI looked around. The complete set of research equipment made her eyes shine. "Sister Xiang, am I dreaming? This place is too good, right?" "You're not dreaming." Chu Xiang smiled and walked over to put her arm around her shoulder. She said to the researchers, "Now there's a good place to take you to. In the future, you can peacefully follow AI to study how to eliminate zombies. How about it? Do you want to go?" Some of the researchers were willing, while others were hesitant. These equipment are not easy to move. If there are losses on the way, it will be difficult to repair or reassemble them. How can we go to other places to study? You don't have to worry about that. Chu Xiang waved her hand, and several large instruments disappeared in front of their eyes. They had never seen something like space before. They all stared with their eyes and mouths wide open. They were shocked. How did she do that? The people outside are so powerful now. Is this also a kind of genetic optimization? Everyone swarmed forward and surrounded Chu Xiang in the middle, asking her questions at once. AI proudly said, "Of course not. Our captain's ability is not something that others can learn. You don't have to worry about this. First, study how to eliminate zombies. Or first, study how to not be infected by the zombie virus and save ordinary people's lives. How about it? Can you decide to go with us now? There are too few researchers. We can't be missing one. Let's study the antidote together, okay?" Okay. Researchers never lacked the desire to explore. Chu Xiang's move made them have a strong desire to explore this world. They must not die. They still had a lot of things to study. These researchers really had enough enthusiasm for research. They only thought about this matter. After they were done, they immediately scattered to tidy up the entire research institute. They neatly arranged everything and asked Chu Xiang to put it into the space. No matter how many times they looked at it, when things disappeared, they would still not be surprised. Chu Xiang had also been a researcher before. She understood their mentality very well. This was also the reason why she suddenly decided to send them to the base. Sometimes they were cute people. Moreover, they were people who could make great contributions. When Xiao Jin and the others dealt with the 2 zombies and came over, they saw an empty research institute and a group of obedient researchers. After they chatted with AI for a while, they were completely convinced by AI's talent and knowledge. They were willing to follow her anywhere to do research. To a certain extent, in every field, the strong were respected. The strong would always be worshipped. Xiao Cheng saw AI's appearance in the crowd. He couldn't help but smile and feel proud. Chu Xiang took out a car that could accommodate more than 10 people from the space. She let Xiaocheng drive. AI just happened to follow. They could talk about research ideas with the researchers on the way. The 2 cars returned to the base one after the other. On the way, they encountered many high-level zombies and enemies. Their team's invincibility made the researchers feel more at ease. They were 100% confident about the future. Hope Base had been accelerating its expansion after annexing Dawn Base. Chu Xiang and the others had been away for a few months. Hope Base had doubled in size. There was just enough space for a research institute. Zhou Zhen warmly welcomed their return. He also valued the group of researchers very much. He personally went to the front and back of the team and arranged everything. Zhou Yusin saw the white hair on Zhou Zhen's temples. She suddenly felt sad. "Dad, are you very tired? Managing such a large base in this world must be very tiring, right?" Zhou Zhen touched her head. Someone has to do these things. You've grown up. You know how to care for your dad. Zhou Yusin smiled. Yes, I've grown up. Dad, I'll help you in the future. Zhouzhen was very surprised. You? You didn't go out with Chu Xiang and the others to explore? Zhou Yusin winked mischievously. How about I get them to help me manage the base? Exploring is one thing, but this place can be our headquarters. Chapter 138. Ever since Zhou Yusin chatted with Zhouzhen, she started to coax the members of the ground server team to join the base. However, she didn't need to coax them because AI would definitely stay in the base to do research. She also needed special protection. Xiaocheng obviously wouldn't feel at ease leaving her to others, so he could only stay with her. As for Xiaojin, he had gotten closer to Zhou Yusin in the past few months. He had always admired capable women, and Zhou Yusin was probably the second woman after Chu Xiang that he valued. As they spent time together, some sparks unknowingly appeared between the two of them. Now that Zhou Yusin had to manage the base and Xiaocheng had to stay behind to accompany AI, his heart naturally shifted towards the base. However, he was initially rescued by Chu Xiang. Later on, he followed Chu Xiang all the way. Even his cultivation was taught by Chu Xiang. What he cared about the most was still Chu Xiang's thoughts. In the end, it was all up to Chu Xiang to decide whether to stay or leave. Chu Xiang was actually a bit bored. Although the people in this world had spiritual roots, they didn't know how to cultivate. With her current strength, she was invincible in this world. Even if she didn't cultivate, she had countless ways to defeat others. This kind of world where the strong were respected wasn't as fun as she thought. She didn't really miss it. She still liked the life in the previous worlds. No matter how ugly the zombies were, there was no sense of beauty. Even the cities and humans weren't clean enough. It was very uncomfortable to look at. It was much more interesting for her to return to the entertainment industry and be a star than in the apocalypse. That was why she helped to send the researchers back to the base. She wanted them to eliminate the zombies as soon as possible. At that time, even if the world needed time to rebuild, the new order would only be established after various wars. At least there would be more entertainment in the future. In the field of medicine, she was the expert. Of course she had to stay. When AI found out that Chu Xiang knew about medicine, her shock and admiration couldn't be expressed in words. It seemed that from the first time she met Chu Xiang's position in her heart had been refreshed again and again. It was as if there was no peak. No one knew how many things Chu Xiang knew. No one knew what she did before. She was like a mystery. In this world and this domain, she was a truly high and mighty expert. No one could understand her, and could only look up to her. Chu Xiang's decision was the team's decision. She put on a white coat and stayed at the research institute. She became the Dr. Chu in people's mouths. Zhou Yusin successfully stayed behind and managed the base with Xiaojin and Xiaocheng, allowing Zhouzhen to relax. Although they stayed in Hope Base, everyone seemed to be even busier. They had endless things to do. It was also because they stayed in Hope Base that Hope Base's reputation became even more resounding. More people came because of its reputation, and it began to grow stronger. Research was not an easy thing to do. Chu Xiang and AI led a group of researchers to do experiments from morning to night. They had failed countless times, and only after 3 months did they manage to develop a drug that could prevent and cure the zombie virus below level 3. At the end of the world, tools were scarce. Chu Xiang asked people to make all the drugs into pills, which were convenient to carry around. Once the drug was developed, ordinary people could pick up weapons and walk a little further away. As long as they were not bitten by zombies above level 3, they would be safe. It greatly increased people's safety and labor. Orders from other bases came in like snowflakes. All kinds of materials became good things to exchange for the drug. Zhouzhen sighed more than once. If our base did not meet Chu Xiang, it would have been annexed by Dawn Base. I would not be alive now, and our people would not have a good ending. Fortunately, we met Chu Xiang. We are really lucky. His assistant, who had been with him for a long time, asked, "What does Chu Xiang want to do?" It seems that from the moment she appeared, no one could guess what she would do next. There was no pattern at all, no purpose at all. It was as if she was very casual. She did whatever she thought of, and then solved the problem when she encountered it. No one knew what kind of life she wanted to live, and what she wanted. Zhou laughed and shook his head. When a person can do whatever they want, isn't it just doing whatever they want? Why does she have to have a purpose? Everything is based on what she likes. That's why we are lucky, because she did not choose to help us. She just happened to be here at the time and had some personal grudges with someone. She just happened to be in a good mood and helped us. So she stayed in our base only because she happened to know someone. She came because she wanted to do research. The assistant also laughed and joked. Uncle Zhen, don't worry. Yusin and the others have taken care of the base very well. In the future, we will definitely not just be a base. I have a feeling that they will start a new era. Yes, I will wait and see. Zhou Zhen was very glad that he resisted the reluctance to let his daughter join Chu Xiang's team. Otherwise, everything would not have happened today. They understood very well how the base became prosperous, so they cherished and were very grateful. They did not become arrogant because of the expansion of the base. The management of the base became stricter and stricter. Xiao Jin used to be a soldier. He formed a regular army in the base. Every day they trained, guarded the base, and brought people out with Xiao Cheng to collect materials and clean up the surrounding zombies. Every aspect of the base was being improved. After another 3 months, Chu Xiang came out of the lab and did not recognize the base. Sister Xiang, I heard that you developed a drug to resist the level 5 zombie virus. Is it true? Zhou Yusin rushed to Chu Xiang and asked breathlessly. Chu Xiang nodded. It's true. That's great, Sister Xiang. Zhou Yusin hugged Chu Xiang excitedly. She choked and said, Sister Xiang, you are so amazing. Chu Xiang laughed and said, all right, you are a manager now. Everyone is looking at you. You go do your work. I will go out for a walk. Sister Xiang, where are you going? Let's go together, okay? We haven't gone out together for half a year. Okay, you go call people. I will drive. Chu Xiang asked about the location of the garage and went to check the car first. When the team gathered, they directly drove out. With the space, she didn't even need to pack her things. When she first transmigrated to this world, it gave her a familiar feeling of the strong being respected. Now, she felt that the biggest gain here was this space. It was really too convenient. It would save her a lot of trouble to go anywhere in the future. Chu Xiang had been in seclusion for half a year. The base was twice as big as before. There were many more unfamiliar faces. The atmosphere of the base was no longer just warm. It had become a rather orderly city. It could be seen that they had spent a lot of effort in managing the base. All aspects of the base were on the right track. Zhou Yusin took the water that Xiao Jin opened and drank 2 mouthfuls. She asked, Sister Xiang, where are we going? There are no zombies around here. Xiao Jin and Xiao Qing have cleared them out. AI also hadn't left the lab for a long time. She leaned against the window and looked at the divided farmland outside. She said, isn't there a level 6 zombie in the forest in the east? How about, Sister Xiang, how about we go catch it? We can lock it up for experiments. Chu Xiang glanced at them from the rearview mirror. She smiled and said, how come I didn't realize you were so violent before? You're always thinking about fighting and killing as soon as you come out. Zhou Yusin and AI looked at each other and said in unison, we learned it from you. You're trying to scare them away. Leave the zombies for others to catch. Chu Xiang joked. When are you going to have your wedding? The base should be lively and festive. Your wedding is just right. Wedding? What wedding? Zhou Yusin glanced at Xiao Jin. Her voice trailed off. AI complained. You don't even have a proposal ring. Who wants to have a wedding? Xiao Qing immediately said, a ring is easy. Isn't it easy to get a ring now? Right, brother? Xiao Jin nodded and looked at Chu Xiang. You're going to preside over our wedding? Sure. Chu Xiang observed the surrounding roads and drove the car in the direction of the city. She smiled and said, let's take the bride and groom to choose a ring and a dress, and then take a set of wedding photos, okay? It's doomsday style, the only one in the world. You can't get it usually. Her words made the 4 of them laugh. It was as if they had returned to the days when they were running around outside. They sang along the way and laughed happily. They really found a few photo studios to gather the necessary things to take a set of wedding photos. This was probably the most hardcore wedding photo in the world. Not only were there ruins, but there were also all kinds of zombies in the background. However, this did not affect their good mood. What they loved the most was a photo of Chu Xiang standing in the middle, with the two pairs of newlyweds standing on either side. This was the only group photo of their team. Everyone had the happiest smile on their faces. Chu Xiang returned to the base to preside over their wedding. She had a lively night with everyone in the base, and then went into seclusion in the research lab again. Half a year later, she developed a vaccine that was completely immune to the zombie virus. It shocked the world and brought unprecedented benefits to Hope Base. Hope Base was officially transformed into Hope City. Another year later, Chu Xiang and AI developed a drug that could make zombies lose their mobility. They made it into bullets and mass-produced them for use. There were many bases that had migrated to Hope City. They surrounded Hope City and became its vassals. After the zombies were eliminated, it was time for people to fight. Hope City had an absolute advantage and was far ahead in all aspects. They became the leader with the highest prestige and attracted countless residents and ability users. Chu Xiang would occasionally join their battles on a whim. With her, Hope City's army was naturally as strong as a tiger. The Shura team that made people tremble in fear didn't appear again, but they seemed to have become Hope City. They stood tall in the ruins of the post-apocalyptic world with the same domineering aura. They developed rapidly and became the strongest one. Chu Xiang had been in the base watching her 4 friends win the war and establish a new order. She then said goodbye to them and left the base. No one knew where she went, and no one could contact her. In fact, even she didn't know where she was. She just walked around randomly and put whatever she saw into her space to prepare for her future transmigration. Anyway, she had magic in space. She could live comfortably wherever she went. It was like a leisure trip in the apocalypse. It was a vacation for her. But she was already looking forward to the next world. Chapter 139. I won't marry him. Insu broke his leg, and he has a sick mother and a studying sister at home. If I marry him, won't I be working for them? Why should I? Why should I? Didn't you ask me to kiss Insu because you liked him? Insu broke his leg to save your grandfather. Isn't he helping you because you're about to marry him? We can't be so heartless. That's enough, Chulan. Don't make a fuss. What if the neighbors hear about it? Oh, it'll be good if it gets out. Grandma, what era are we in now? Arranged marriages are not allowed. If you don't believe me, why don't you ask the Women's Federation? I won't marry Insu even if I die. If you feel that you have to take responsibility for him, fine. Don't you have a girl at home of the right age? What do you mean? Let Chu Xiang marry him for you. Chu Xiang is injured like that. How can you say that? Isn't she a good match for Insu? Who else do you want her to marry? Who wants her? Chu Xiang woke up to the sharp noise. She had a splitting headache, and her right cheek was burning. The pain was numbing, and even her whole body was sore. She frowned, took a deep breath, and looked around. This was a narrow and dark adobe house. The roof was low, and the windows were small. Looking at it made people feel depressed. The most important thing was that the spiritual energy in this world was pitifully low. It was even less than the spiritual energy in any of the previous worlds. The people outside were still quarreling, and there was no one in the room. Chu Xiang took out 2 specially made painkillers from her space and ate them. The spiritual energy brought by the soul was also affected by the external conditions. The spiritual energy in this world was scarce, and Chu Xiang could only use a small amount of spiritual energy. The healing process was slow, and she could only endure the pain for the time being. She moved her fingers and called out the heaven and earth mirror. She saw that there was a wound from the corner of her eye to the corner of her mouth on the right side of her face. There was black medicine on it, and it looked terrible. No wonder she couldn't get married to that man outside. He was disfigured. She quickly merged with the original owner's memories. This was a country she had never seen before. It was called Hua Country, and it was also an era she had never been to. It was a very poor and restrictive end of the 70s. The original host was 18 years old and was studying. She was close to an educated youth in the brigade named Song Yang. Song Yang's family was from the provincial capital. Since the college entrance examination was reinstated a year ago, the two of them had been preparing for the college entrance examination together. They wanted to be admitted to a provincial university. Chu Lan, who was making a ruckus outside, was her cousin from her uncle's family. She was 1 year older than her and had failed to enter university last year. Originally, she had already given up on studying. However, she had taken a fancy to the tall and capable In Su and had asked her family to help her marry him. Who knew that she would suddenly change her personality and take the college entrance examination? Now, she was even clamoring for Chu Xiang to get married in her place. Her personality was not very good, but her luck was very good. She could always get some good things. The original host was very unlucky. During the school exam, she caught a cold and had a fever. She was in a daze from the fever and got a very low score. On the way home, she missed a step and rolled down the hill. Her face was cut by a sharp stone, and the back of her head hit a big stone. Her body was covered with bruises and bruises. The original host's head hit was very serious. The doctor at the health center saw that she wasn't bleeding and thought that she was fine. In the end, the original host died and Chu Xiang took over her life. There weren't many people in the Chu family. Above them were Grandpa Chu and Grandma Chu. Their two sons were the original host's uncle and father. They were ordinary farmers. Their daughter, who was the original host's aunt, married into the county in her early years. Now she was working in a supply and demand cooperative. She was the one with the best conditions in the family. However, her aunt was arrogant and didn't like to interact with poor relatives. Uncle Chu only had one child, Chu Lan. He worked hard and injured his body so he couldn't have children. Therefore, he always felt that he couldn't raise his head in the brigade. His back was a little bent, and he could only work like an old ox. The original host had a younger brother, Chu Xian. He was 16 years old and had just entered high school. Chu Xian was the only grandson of the Chu family. He was spoiled at home and never put his two sisters in his eyes. He didn't do any work and his grades were poor. He ate and drank and became a fatty in this era. The original owner's parents were extremely biased. Her grandparents and uncle also liked Chu Xian. Eldest aunt doted on Chu Lan. Only the original owner of the body was neglected and neglected. If it weren't for the original host's excellent grades and the teachers getting subsidies for the college entrance examination, her family wouldn't have let her study. After Chu Xiang merged the memories, she finally understood why no one cared about her living in such a poor room. Her grandmother outside would rather quarrel with Chu Lan and not let her marry than come in to see if her injuries were better. It seems that she mainly cared about the Yin family making trouble and making the Chu family lose face. It had nothing to do with her. Chu Xiang sat up with difficulty. She took out a few crystal nuclei from her space and arranged them into a spirit-gathering formation under the quilt. Although there wasn't much spiritual energy, with the spirit-gathering array gathering spiritual energy, it still made Chu Xiang feel more comfortable. She took out a roll and ate it with the rice porridge. In her previous life, she collected a lot of good things in the apocalypse. Fortunately, she had the space and these things. Otherwise, her life would be difficult. This era was very strange. People weren't allowed to walk around. To go to other places, they needed the approval of the brigade leader and a letter of recommendation. Otherwise, they couldn't even buy a ticket. Food and daily necessities couldn't be bought with money. They had to have a ticket. Tickets were often very rare things. Sometimes, people wanted to eat meat or make new clothes. Fortunately, the policies were relaxed a lot in the past 2 years. Land was contracted to each household, and there was no need to work collectively. No one would catch them if they went to the county to sell things. The college entrance examination was also reinstated. If she transmigrated 2 years earlier, there would be more restrictions. The noise outside the house gradually stopped. Chu Xiang had also eaten her fill and lay down again. The painkillers worked. She felt much better now, but her body was still tired. She couldn't do anything outside. It was better to lie down and rest. When Chu Xiang was about to fall asleep, Grandma Chu came in to see her and changed the medicine on her face. Grandma Chu's hands were very rough. She was used to doing farm work. She didn't change the medicine gently. Chu Xiang frowned in pain and opened her eyes to avoid it. Grandma, I'll do it myself. Grandma Chu stuffed the medicine into her hand and breathed a sigh of relief. You're finally awake. The doctor is here. You'll be fine now that you're awake. You should apply the medicine yourself. You can't walk properly. What are you going to do with such a big scar on your face? Won't you have to marry a widower with a child in the future? Chu Xiang didn't apply the medicine on her face. When she heard this, her eyebrows moved slightly. Did this mean that he had approved of Chu Lan and had set his sights on her? She lowered her eyes and said, "What's so good about marrying a widower and helping him raise his child? It's better to work in our family than to be a cow or a horse in someone else's house. It'll let you and my grandfather relax. Now that the land is contracted to each household, I can be counted as a laborer when I recover. Working in someone else's house won't help our family." Grandma Chu was stunned. She frowned and disagreed. What are you talking about? How could she not get married? You're already 18. It's too late. If you don't marry, old lady Jiang will laugh at you and our Chu family. Grandma Chu did not wait for Chu Xiang to reply. She patted her blanket twice and said, "All right, don't worry about these things. Your mother, your aunt, and I will help you find a good one. We will definitely find you a good one, and won't let you suffer. Quickly apply the medicine. I'll ask your mother to make some porridge for you." Grandma Chu left hurriedly after saying that. She didn't care if Chu Xiang had anything to say. If it was a naive teenage girl at this time, she would have completely fallen into Grandma Chu's trap and thought that she was concerned about her. Disfigurement was already shocking and made people lose their minds. At this time, Grandma Chu could only marry a widower and lack a stepmother. She naturally felt more panicked and helpless. Then Grandma Chu and the others could marry into the Yin family. With the worst family as a comparison, the Yin family suddenly became the best choice. At that time, the girl might think that her family was good to her and be grateful to them. Chu Xiang shook her head. No wonder the original owner left without saying a word after knowing that she was dead. She didn't have any lingering feelings at all. Chu Xiang smelled the medicine and recognized that it was just ordinary medicine. The medicine was very weak. She simply took the medicine she made from her space and applied it to the wound. Then she covered the black medicine that Grandma Chu gave her with it. When she finished, the original owner's mother, Li Yuezhen, came in with half a bowl of porridge. "Eat something. You just woke up. You can't eat too much. Just fill your stomach." Chu Xiang was already full, so she didn't mind that the porridge was too little. She took the bowl and tasted it. Sure enough, it was the same as the original owner's memory. It tasted bad. There was no fragrance and the taste was bad. She saw Li Yuezhen looking at her. She raised her head and pretended to drink the porridge. In fact, she poured all the porridge into the trash can. She handed the empty bowl to Li Yuezhen and said weakly, "Mom, I'm dizzy and my face hurts. I want to sleep for a while." "Okay, then you go to sleep." Li Yuezhen frowned and turned to leave. She couldn't help but say, Why are you disfigured? What should we do? You got such a low score this time. You definitely can't go to university. If you had listened to me and married old Lu 2 years ago, wouldn't you be fine now? You're too careless and disobedient. How can you help your brother in the future? Didn't you say that Brother Chang will support me in the future? Now that this elder sister of mine is in trouble, it's just the right time for him to take care of me. I'll be relying on him for the rest of my life. He's the only son of our Chu family. Chu Xiang retorted casually as she lay down. Li Yuezhen was speechless. She didn't know what to say. In order to let Chu Xiang help her brother, she said a lot of words. But wasn't that to let Chu Xiang help Chu Xian? Why did Chu Xian want to meddle in Chu Xiang's affairs before he got any benefits? Chu Xiang closed her eyes. "I'm dizzy. I'm in a daze. I'm going to sleep first." Li Yuezhen was about to say something, but she was blocked again. She called Chu Xiang twice. Seeing that Chu Xiang didn't respond, she thought that Chu Xiang had fainted. She closed the door and left resentfully. This family wasn't very good. It wasn't suitable for her to stay for long. In this era, the affection of the elders was very restrictive. The rules of the brigade were also very restrictive. In these various restrictions, she had to find a way to live comfortably and freely. It was the first time Chu Xiang came to such a place. She quickly thought about it. First of all, she had to leave this house. These people were not her family. It was fine if she didn't want them. Chapter 140. When Chu Xiang was resting, Chu Lan dressed up carefully and went out with 2 boiled eggs in her pocket. She didn't dare to dress up too conspicuously. After all, this was the brigade, and the acceptance of new things was not as high as in the capital. Many things were not fashionable yet, and if she dressed up too much, she would be called a vixen. She just slightly tightened her clothes, changed her pants to be a little tighter, and fixed the shape of her bangs to look better. She also trimmed her eyebrows a little. Although these changes were inconspicuous and not easy to notice, when all these aspects were put together, her whole person was much more eye-catching. She looked like a beautiful and likable girl. Chu Lan knew that Song Yang liked Chu Xiang. At this time, when he heard that Chu Xiang was injured, he definitely couldn't help but come over to take a look. The two of them were still not a couple. In this era, it was impossible for Song Yang to blatantly inquire about Chu Xiang's matters. When he went to visit Chu Xiang's home, he could only take a few glances at the Chu family from a distance. Therefore, Chu Lan carried a basket and pretended that she was going to pick wild materials. She deliberately lowered her head and walked on the forest road. She bet that Song Yang would definitely call her. Chu Lan, Chu Lan. When Chu Lan heard someone calling her, the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. She immediately pretended that nothing had happened and looked over. Then she said in surprise, Song Jiqing? Why are you here? Are you also here to pick wild materials? Song Yang was a little embarrassed. He coughed a few times and stammered. No, that? I want to ask. I heard that Chu Xiang rolled down the hill. Is it a light accident? How is Chu Xiang now? Chu Lan was jealous in her heart. She pretended to be disappointed and sighed. My cousin? Alas, she fell quite miserably. It's very distressing. Why is she so careless when she walks? She actually fell down when she was walking. Song Yang frowned and felt distressed. She must be thinking about her grades. In fact, it doesn't mean anything if she doesn't do well once. Comrade Chu Lan can go back and persuade her. There's still some time before the college entrance examination. She can still study hard. Chu Lan sighed again. She's like this now. How is she going to revise? By the way, Song Jiqing, can you help my cousin? Song Yang looked at her in surprise. Me? How can I help? Chu Lan and Gao Xine. You're good at studying. You can help her with the questions. Look, my cousin is recuperating at home, so she can't go to school. She's left behind a lot of things, which will definitely affect her revision. But if you can help her, she will definitely be able to catch up. I'm very willing to help. Song Yang was overjoyed, but then he frowned. Isn't this a little inconvenient? No, Chu Xiang classmate is still recuperating in her room. Even if I go to your house, I won't be able to teach her. That's true. Chu Lan pretended to be in a dilemma and thought for a while. When he saw Song Yang's disappointed expression, he said, Oh right, I'm here. Song Jiqing, you can teach me the questions. I'll go back and tell my cousin. I'll teach you? Song Yang looked hesitant. He liked Chu Xiang, and usually only paid attention to Chu Xiang. He didn't have much contact with other girls. Teaching questions must be done often, so it was inevitable that he would feel a little awkward. Seeing this, Chu Lan immediately said, If my cousin can still revise when she's recuperating, her grades will definitely catch up. If she knows that someone cares about her so much, she will definitely be happy. In fact, I also want to take the college entrance examination. I hope that I can be admitted to the provincial capital in the future and make a contribution to the country. When Song Yang heard that Chu Xiang would be happy, his heart wavered. When he saw that Chu Lan was so ambitious, so enthusiastic to help, so concerned about Chu Xiang, and so eager to learn, his heart wavered even more. He hesitated and nodded. Okay, then I'll go back and sort out the revision materials. I'll pick the questions that Chu Xiang doesn't know. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Then let's teach questions behind the hillside in front, so that we won't be seen by others. It'll be troublesome. Let's go. I'll show you. I often go there to dig wild vegetables. No one passes by there. Chu Lan's understanding dispelled the last trace of hesitation in Song Yang's heart. Chu Lan relied on the fact that she was Chu Xiang's elder sister, and successfully made Song Yang let down his guard and trusted her, as if she was one of his own. They began their first natural interaction, and she even enthusiastically gave Song Yang boiled eggs. She promised to give him eggs to eat every time in the future as tuition fees for the two sisters. Song Yang refused. His impression of Chu Lan was more forthright and generous. He felt that it was really good that Chu Xiang had such a sister. Chu Lan went home humming a song. When she saw Chu Xiang's room, she smiled and strode into Chu Xiang's room. Seeing that Chu Xiang was awake, she smiled and said, Chu Xiang, guess who I just met? It's Song Jiqing. He also asked me about your injury. Chu Xiang looked at her. If the original owner was here now and knew that the man she liked asked about her injury, she would not be happy but sad. After all, her face was really disfigured. How sad would it be if her love was buried before it even started? Chu Xiang smiled calmly and said, I'm much better now. I can review lessons with him in a few days. Chu Lan's face changed slightly. She tried to hide her incredulous expression and asked tentatively, You're much better? Really? Doctor, you almost died. You can't force yourself. I've seen the injuries on your body. It's terrible. And your face. Chu Lan seemed to have finally found something that could make Chu Xiang lose everything. She was relieved and said worriedly, Have you looked in the mirror? Doctor, the injury on your face will leave a terrible scar. It can't be removed. You'd better not go out in a hurry. We'll help you think of a way to remedy it. Otherwise, how can you go to school, take the college entrance examination, and meet people? Chu Xiang raised her hand and touched her face. Will it leave a scar? I don't feel pain anymore. It shouldn't be a serious injury. Did the doctor make a mistake? If it will leave a scar, I should go to the hospital in the county. Chu Lan, why don't you and Grandma send me to the county or the provincial capital? The whole Chu family valued boys over girls. They only love Chu Xian. How could they spend money and time to send Chu Xiang to the hospital? Chu Lan felt that talking to Chu Xiang didn't make him feel superior at all. Instead, it was like stepping on landmines from time to time. She felt very aggrieved and left quickly after saying, I'll try. Chu Xiang looked at the swaying curtain at the door. She leaned against the bed and thought for a while. She guessed that Chu Lan should be interested in Song Yang. This was very interesting. Chu Lan originally liked Yin Su. According to the aesthetics of this era, they either liked scholars or tall, strong, and capable men. Yin Su was the latter. Chu Lan suddenly changed her preference and liked Song Yang. Song Yang and the original owner had feelings for each other. It was very likely that they would become a couple in the provincial capital. The most likely reason was, Chu Lan was reborn. Chu Lan didn't have a good life in her previous life. Yin Su was probably the same. The original owner had a good life with Song Yang in her previous life. So after Chu Lan was reborn, she simply took a shortcut and directly hooked up with Song Yang. Chu Lan and the Yin family already had a verbal marriage. Although it wasn't spread, some people in the brigade vaguely knew that the Chu family and the Yin family were looking for each other. Chu Lan didn't want to get into trouble and let the original owner marry into the Yin family. It was a happy ending for the Yin family. Chu Xiang carefully recalled the process of the original owner being kicked. She really rolled down the hill by herself. This was too much of a coincidence. How could she roll down the hill if she walked on the road normally? Chu Xiang waved her hand, and the heaven and earth mirror appeared in front of her. She tapped on the mirror, and the heaven and earth mirror immediately flew to Chu Lan's room. The image of Chu Lan directly appeared in her mind. Chu Xiang saw Chu Lan lock the doors and windows. She knelt in the middle of the room and bowed. She whispered, Thank you, Master. Thank you, Buddha. If I can have my wish fulfilled, I will build a temple to repay my wish. I hope that I can always have good luck, and don't return it to Chu Xiang. She was already happy in her previous life. It's my turn now. Please let me have my wish and become an official's wife. When Chu Lan wanted to get up, he thought of something and put his palms together. Buddha Buddha. Insu's broken leg has nothing to do with me. In my previous life, he didn't like me and refused to marry me. In this life, it's impossible that he saved my grandfather because of me. This debt can't be counted on me. However, he broke his leg and Chu Xiang's face was disfigured. The two of them are a good match. I beg you Lao to set them up. Chu Xiang raised her eyebrows. What was Chu Lan doing? Making a wish to a deity? There was so little spiritual energy in this world. Which deity would care about such trivial matters? Building a temple wasn't worth the deity lifting a finger. However, for Chu Lan to do this, could it be that he thought that rebirth was a blessing from a deity? This kind of rebirth was nothing more than an accident that was overlooked. Which deity would notice it? If they really noticed it, they would directly erase this accident. At that time, it would be too late for Chu Lan to cry. Chu Xiang thought about Chu Lan's words again. It seemed like their luck and bad luck had been swapped. Otherwise, Chu Lan wouldn't give her luck back. Chu Xiang took out the crystal nuclei from the quilt and arranged them in the shape of an 8 trigrams plate in front of her. She began to calculate the original owner and Chu Lan's 2 life-saving plates. Originally, Chu Lan was someone who brought bad luck to his 6 relatives and had no good fortune in his life. The original owner was someone who had good fortune and had a smooth life. But now that the original owner was dead, Chu Lan had a glimmer of hope and good fortune came one after another. No matter what kind of accident it was, Chu Lan had been reborn and had the original owner's luck. If nothing went wrong, Chu Lan should have a good life in the future. This luck was stolen. Chu Lan was enjoying her current luck in her room. She did not seem to care about her cousin's serious injury and disfigurement, or Insu's broken leg. Instead, she was happy that she had gotten rid of the trouble. Her character was really bad. Chu Xiang took out a piece of white clothing from her space. She cut it into a simple doll and wrote Chu Lan's birth date on the back of the doll. Chu Lan's wish to the deities probably didn't care, but with her here, she could do something to get things back on track. Chu Xiang placed the doll in the middle of the array made of crystal nuclei. She closed her eyes and muttered an incantation. After a while, the doll spontaneously combusted and quietly burned in the array. It didn't burn anything else and didn't leave behind any ashes. It gradually burned until it disappeared. Chu Xiang revealed a faint smile. From this moment on, Chu Lan's luck would decrease little by little, until it returned to what it was in her life. Chu Lan could only enjoy her last bit of luck. Chapter 142. Skinny Monkey ran all the way back to Insu's house. Although he ran fast, his steps were very steady. However, this also frightened Insu's mother, Yang Yuelan. Yang Yuelan hurriedly greeted Insu as soon as she saw him. Where did you go? Are you trying to kill me? Skinny Monkey, why did you take Insu out? His leg is broken, and he needs to be fixed to recuperate. How can he move around like this? Insu didn't wait for her to finish and interrupted her. Mom, I asked Skinny Monkey to take me to the county to see a doctor. As expected, Yang Yuelan immediately diverted her attention and said nervously, What about a doctor? I've already borrowed a car from the brigade leader. When the car is free, I'll take you to the hospital. Your leg still needs to be hospitalized. Skinny Monkey didn't know how to answer, so he simply lowered his head and let his boss speak. Insu calmly said, The doctor can't treat it, and there are no more beds. He told me to go see him at a later time. Yang Yuelan wiped her tears and hurriedly reached out to help Insu. Skinny Monkey, quickly put your brother Su on the Kong bed. What a sin. He's such a good gambler, but he became like this after a trip to the mountains. What about his leg? That old Chu's family is too despicable. How old are they? They didn't send anything, nor did they come to see him. They didn't even say a word of concern. In any case, we're trying to save old Chu. Skinny Monkey placed Insu firmly on the Kong bed and helped him take off his shoes. He echoed, Old Chu's family is despicable. Auntie, Brother Sue has me. Don't worry, I'll definitely take good care of Brother Sue. If you need anything, just call me. Although I'm skinny, I used to be a soldier like Brother Sue. I'm very strong. Yang Yuelon frowned. Why do I need you to be strong now? I just want Insu to be cured. Otherwise, won't my life be over? As she spoke, she poured water for Insu and Skinny Monkey. She asked, You didn't eat in town, right? I'll go cook. After Yang Yuelon left, Skinny Monkey wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, You scared me to death. Brother Sue, don't make me do these kinds of sneaky things in the future. Your leg is still injured, so you really can't take it. Furthermore, only Auntie has a good temper. If it were my mother, her temper would have flared up already. Insu leaned against the wall and reached out to touch his leg. After a moment of silence, he said, This leg is difficult to treat. I think it can only be treated in the capital. I don't have enough money now, so I can't go there. The Skinny Monkey was dumbfounded. Then what should we do? How about I go to the back of the mountain again and see if I can dig up anything good? Skinny Monkey put down his bowl and was about to leave when Insu stopped him. He waved his hand and said, Isn't it just a limp? How can it delay me? At most, I'll walk with a little limp in the future. I can still fight 10 people. Don't think about it blindly. First, sell all the things we've hidden away. Ask your old customers to do it. Don't be rash. Although the management is not strict now and the situation is good, we can't guarantee that there will be people who want to take advantage of us and use us as an example. If we get caught, we won't have a chance. We must keep a low profile. Remember, making money is secondary. Safety comes first. Yes. Brother Sue, don't worry. I'll do it now. I'll try my best to treat your leg when I get the money. Skinny Monkey was really worried about Insu's leg. After saying that, he ran out in a hurry. Yang Yuelon chased after him and shouted twice. She went back into the house and talked to Insu. This Skinny Monkey. The more I call, the more he runs. Why don't you ask him to stay for dinner? Cough, cough. Mom, he has something to do. We can just eat. Don't make too much. Make something simple. I'll be better in a few days. You won't have to work so hard. Insu heard his mother cough. Although his expression did not change, his eyes were full of worry. Yang Yuelon sighed when she heard this. My body is useless. I drink medicine and waste the family's money. Now you don't even have money to treat your leg. The Chu family won't do anything either. They can at least help. Previously, the old madam of the Chu family wanted to arrange a marriage between the two families. Now there's no news. Your leg. If it can't be treated, how will you get a wife in the future? Mom, don't worry about this. I know what to do. What do you know? How can I not be worried? Yang Yuelon did not want her son to see her cry, but she could not help it. She lowered her head and kept wiping her tears. I spend money on medicine. Your sister also needs money to go to school. This time, you might use up all the family's money to treat your leg. How will you get a wife? No one will be willing to marry you. If something happens to me, who will take care of you? Mom. Insu felt helpless and a little distressed. He really did not care. Saving people was his decision. If his leg was broken, so be it. Wasn't it just a limp? It really did not affect him. As for getting a wife, finding someone to take care of him, and earning money, he had never worried about it. However, his mother was too bold. He could not sell things outside with her. Otherwise, Yang Yuelon might not even be able to sleep. Yang Yuelon thought about it, and was still unwilling to give up. She held Insu's hand. Son, I have to go to the Chu family to look for them. Chu Lan has already recovered. She's going to marry me at the end of the year. They can't go back on their word now. This is what the Chu family owes us. She patted Insu's hand to stop him from speaking. She continued, Listen to me. Chu Lan is a virgin. She's pretty and has studied. She doesn't have a younger brother at home to help her. She's a good match. If you miss this opportunity, think about what kind of person you can find. You might only be able to find a poor widow. Why should you be wronged? The Chu family must give me an explanation. Yang Yuelan had a gentle and kind personality. She had never said such things. In-su could see that she was uneasy even when she was speaking. She was not so righteous, but she was indeed a kind mother. She was thinking about him. He thought about the matter between Chulan and Songyang. He guessed that the Chu family would deny this marriage. Anyway, it was just a verbal agreement. It could not be counted. It would be useless to look for them. He patiently persuaded. No matter who you find, she has to be willing to marry you. Otherwise, even if the Chu family gave us an explanation to let Chulan marry you, she will make a mess of our family if she is unwilling. Mom, don't you think so? Yang Yuelan was stunned. She frowned. What should I do? No, I have to ask first. Yang Yuelan got up and left. Suddenly, she remembered that the kitchen was still cooking. She hurriedly ran into the kitchen and prepared a bowl of rice for In-su to eat. She couldn't wait for a moment. She went straight to the Chu family. The Chu family was in a bad mood at the moment. Chu Xiang pretended to be unconscious in the room and leisurely ate the food in the space. She let the heaven and earth mirror wander around as her eyes and ears. When the heaven and earth mirror turned to the gate, she saw the pale Yang Yuelan. Grandma Chu welcomed Yang Yuelan into the yard with an awkward smile on her face. She hurriedly asked Chulan's mother to pour some water and asked Yang Yuelan to sit down. Yang Yuelan first asked about Grandpa Chu's health politely. After learning that he was fine, she sighed about how serious In-su's injury was and how torturous his life was. Chulan's mother hid in the kitchen after serving the water and did not show up. She left Grandma Chu and Li Yuezhen to greet the guests. It was obvious that she did not want to have anything to do with Yang Yuelan. This was not the attitude of one's in-laws. Yang Yuelan's heart suddenly turned cold. Grandma Chu and her talked about all kinds of things, but didn't mention the marriage between the two families. Yang Yuelan's expression became more and more anxious and ugly. Chu Xiang took a bag of melon seeds and ate them while watching the show. She mainly wanted to see how shameless the Chu family was. After a while, Chu Lan came back happily from outside. Yang Yuelan's expression was obviously better. She took the initiative to smile and said, "Chu Lan, you're back?" Then she saw the rabbit in her hand and said in surprise, "Why are you carrying a rabbit? Did you catch it?" Chu Lan was not embarrassed in front of her. She smiled graciously and said, "Yes, I was lucky. When I was coming back after digging up the wild vegetables, this rabbit bumped into my shoe and was stunned. I caught it just in time and it's still alive." Chu Lan had no intention of giving it to her. She strode into the yard and shouted, "Mom, you should lock this rabbit up. If you don't eat it, you can keep it." Yang Yuelan knew that Chu Lan had taken a fancy to In-su. She thought that no matter what the Chu family's attitude was, Chu Lan should at least feel sorry for In-su, right? However, Chu Lan didn't ask about In-su's injury at all. She didn't even think about giving the rabbit to In-su to nourish his body. She was even smiling. She didn't know why she was so happy. It was too disappointing. Yang Yuelan instantly thought of In-su's words. If she married someone who was unwilling to marry, would she treat In-su well? If she really made a mess at home, how were they going to live? However, marrying a wife was a big deal. Chu Lan's conditions were the best for In-su now. Yang Yuelan took a deep breath and said, "Aunt Chu, you know that my body is weak and I can't do much work. It's also difficult to take care of people. With In-su's current condition, it will take a few months for him to recover. There's no one to take care of him. Previously, you and I discussed letting Chu Lan marry at the end of the year. I thought that it would be better to hold the wedding in advance, so that the two of them can be together and take care of each other. What do you think?" Chu Lan went into the kitchen and said to her mother, "My grandma is very prideful. She might agree. Mom, quickly go out. You can't let me marry anyone. I'm going to marry to the provincial capital." Chu Lan's mother was of one mind. She immediately nodded, stuffed the rabbit into the rabbit cage, and walked out with a smile. "What's going on? I'm also listening. I was packing up just now and didn't have a good chat with sister-in-law. Is it okay for you to talk here? Can In-su be fine at home by himself?" Yang Yuelan nodded politely and smiled. "It's fine now. I'm here to talk about business. I can't delay. By the way, I'm talking to Aunt about Su and Chulan's marriage. Ah, what marriage? Why don't I know about it? Chulan's mother widened her eyes in surprise and looked at Grandma Chu sternly. Mom, what did you and sister-in-law do to have such a big misunderstanding? Our Chulan is going to take the university entrance exam. She woke up early and worked late to revise. What kind of person is she marrying? Yang Yuelon stopped smiling and looked at them coldly. Grandma Chu was very prideful. Now that she had lost her face, she was so embarrassed that she couldn't say anything. I also. Yang Yuelon said coldly. Is your family planning to go back on their words? Why did my son break his leg? Aren't you afraid of having nightmares? Who was the one who suggested the marriage? Is this a misunderstanding with me? Why don't you ask the brigade leader to judge? Don't make it seem like I'm fawning over your Chu family. Don't. Yuelon, why are you so anxious? Grandma Chu grabbed Yang Yuelon and blurted out. You've really misunderstood. I was talking about Chu Xiang. Chapter 143. Yang Yuelon was shocked by Grandma Chu's words. You what? You're Chu Xiang? Do you think I'm a fool or a deaf person who can't even tell who you are? She pushed Grandma Chu away forcefully and took 2 steps back. Because she was too angry, she couldn't stop coughing. You cough, your Chu family is too much. I can't let this matter go just like that. Cough, let's wait and see. Hey, Yuelon, don't be like this. Grandma Chu hurriedly called Li Yuezhan and Chulan's mother to stop her. She said anxiously, we can talk about this. Our Chu family knows how to repay kindness. We don't dare to forget that the old man was saved by Su. This debt of gratitude must be repaid. I'm still waiting for us to become in-laws. There's no need for a betrothal gift. I'll prepare a dowry for the child. Look, this Chulan. Chulan's mother knew that old madam didn't care about Chulan at all. Her reputation was more important than marriage. She hurriedly interrupted. Sister-in-law, this Chulan is really going to study in a university. Su needs someone to take care of her now. Even if Chulan goes over, she can't take care of her. She's a good child and has a lot of good fortune. Look, even rabbits are running into her arms. We can't hinder her from becoming successful, right? To be honest, if you really want someone to take care of Su, Chu Xiang is just right. Li Yuezhan couldn't take it anymore. She frowned and said, Sister-in-law, what do you mean? Are you saying that my Chu Xiang can be arranged by you? As her mother, I haven't said anything yet. You can't push my Chulan out for your Chu Xiang, right? She had to give a dowry even if she didn't have a betrothal gift. She wouldn't be happy if she couldn't get a single benefit. Yang Yuelon almost fainted from anger when she saw their charity, disdain, and refusal. She pushed them away fiercely and turned to leave. She shouted, I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen anyone as shameless as your Chu family. Who cares about your family? When she shouted, the neighbors all looked around the courtyard. Grandma Chu's expression changed again and again. She glared at her daughters-in-law. What are you two playing at? Why did the two of you mess up such a good thing? Chulan must marry over. Eldest daughter-in-law, take Chulan with you now and chase after her. Give her to me. Don't spread rumors outside. Grandma. Chulan walked out and held Grandma Chu's hand with a smile. I've been reviewing my homework with Song Jiqing recently, and my grades are much better. I'm very confident that I can get into a university in the provincial capital. You don't have to pay tuition fees at the university, and you even get subsidies. If I go to the provincial capital to study at the university, I can bring money home. If I were to marry into the Yin family, you should know what kind of family they are. They might even take things from our family to supplement them, and we won't be able to get any benefits. When that time comes, Chu Xiang won't be able to get married. We don't have a single college student in our family. Why not? In 2 years, Daxin will be admitted to a university. Li Yuezhan muttered unhappily. Chulan smiled and said, That's right. Then I'll go to the provincial capital first. When I get familiar with him, won't I be able to take care of him? Second aunt, if I don't go, Do you want Chu Xiang to take the college entrance exam? Her grades were so bad last time, and she can't get in. Plus, with her face, will the school accept her? Don't scare others. Look at her these days. She obviously wants to rely on Daxin, and let Daxin support her. Isn't it good to hurry up and marry her off? Li Yuezhen was attracted by the picture she painted. Moreover, Chu Xiang was really disobedient. She kept asking Chu Xian, her younger brother, to take care of her, which really made her very angry. She hesitated. Then you don't have to marry into the Yin family. Just verbally reject it. Chu Xiang is educated, and she's a good girl. Isn't it good to find a widower and ask for a betrothal gift? Grandma Chu snorted coldly. You have to be careful. If you don't give the Yin family a daughter-in-law to shut their mouths, do you want to shut them up with money? That's fine. You'll pay for Yin Su's medical expenses. You can't just do nothing and let outsiders criticize our family. This favor must be repaid. I don't have money. Li Yuezhen quickly refused and lowered her head with a bitter face. Then whatever. I don't have money to prepare a dowry. Mom, if you want to give me a dowry, you decide. I'm going to feed the chickens. Li Yuezhen then left, afraid that the old lady would ask her to pay. The old lady was very angry. She turned around and saw Chulan and Chulan's mother were also about to leave. She patted the table and said, "Stay here. Chulan, let me ask you. Just now you and Song Jiqing. Song Yang? Isn't he dating Chu Xiang? What's going on between you two?" Chulan said calmly, "When did he date Chu Xiang? We just know each other, and he taught me questions a few times. Now he's teaching me questions. We're going to take the college entrance exam together. His family is in the provincial capital. When I go there, I won't be unfamiliar with the place. Besides, I've been very lucky recently. I'll definitely get in." She wasn't lying. They were going to take the college entrance exam together, but this together was purely for reference. Song Yang's family was indeed in the provincial capital. Couldn't he take care of the people he knew? However, in Grandma Chu's ears, it was no different from the two of them dating. It was simply the two of them discussing moving to the provincial capital together. Chu Xiang was going to marry the person Chu Lan liked before. And Chu Lan was going to marry the person Chu Xiang wanted to date before. What kind of mess was this? Grandma Chu opened her mouth and wanted to scold, but when she saw the rabbit in the rabbit cage, she swallowed her words. This eldest granddaughter was really lucky. Grandma Chu was still very superstitious. Seeing was believing. Her eldest granddaughter was more beautiful than the last. She brought back countless rabbits, wild eggs, and fish and added many good things to the family. What if Chu Lan was always so lucky? Wouldn't it be too good for the Yin family if she gave it to them? It was good to go to the provincial capital. She could live a good life and add things to the family. Even if she didn't add anything, when Chu Xian came over in the future, how could she not help? Song Yang's family was in the provincial capital. After thinking about it this way, Grandma Chu felt that it was the best way to settle this matter by giving Chu Xiang to the Yin family as a way to repay their kindness. Anyway, Chu Xiang was disfigured. No one would be stupid enough to marry a disfigured woman and give betrothal gifts. She couldn't bring any help to the family, let alone help her brother. Chu Xiang and Chu Lan couldn't be compared at all. After making a decision, she waved her hand to let Chu Lan and the others go back to the house. She took a basket with 6 eggs and covered it with a cloth. Then she went out to the Yin family. On the way, when someone asked her about it, she smiled and gave Yin Su some eggs to nourish his body. There were really people who praised her, saying how good she was as Yin Su. She felt so guilty that others really thought that the Chu family was grateful. Chu Xiang let the heaven and earth mirror follow Grandma Chu all the way to the Yin family, and ate a bunch of melon seed shells. She didn't know much about the Yin family. She only knew that Yang Yuelan was in poor health and couldn't do farm work. She had to take medicine every day. Yin Xiaowen and the original host were in the same school, but they weren't in the same class. She seemed to be doing well. As for Yin Su, he used to be a soldier. Later, he retired and took care of all the work in the family. He always took good care of his mother and sister. Many girls in the village liked him because he was tall, strong, and smart. He rarely smiled, and his eyes seemed to be able to see through people. He was different from the other people in the village. He was full of hormones and was very attractive. The original host liked elegant scholars, so she never paid attention to In-soo. Chu Seong naturally didn't know about In-soo's situation. The scene she saw in the heaven and earth mirror was the first time she saw In-soo. When In-soo heard Yang Yuelan and Grandma Chu arguing, he limped out with the help of a thick tree branch. Yang Yuelan saw him and hurriedly went to help him. "I'll go back and lie down." "How can you move your leg?" In-soo held her shoulder. "I'm fine, Mom. Don't worry. Take it easy. Drink some water first." In-soo handed a bowl of water to Yang Yuelan. Yang Yuelan's eyes were red. Grandma Chu awkwardly took a stool for In-soo and smiled. "Sit down. Don't touch your leg. Yuelan, your In-soo is so filial. He's such a good child. I like him. I really want him to be my grandson-in-law." Yang Yuelan said angrily. "I respect you and call you auntie. But what did you do? You were the one who asked me to marry you. How many girls like my In-soo? What's wrong now? Seeing that In-soo's leg is injured, you changed the person? Is there anyone who does that? The whole brigade is disfigured by your Chu Seong. What do you mean?" "Yuelan, Chu Seong is a good girl. She's much more likable than Chu Lan. I don't mean anything else. Isn't it because Chu Seong can take care of In-soo if she doesn't take the exam? She can also take care of her mother-in-law and sister-in-law. Isn't that a good thing? Chu Lan is bent on taking the exam. I can't force her. I have no choice. I'm not saying that Chu Seong is bad. I'm just saying that your way of changing people is too disgusting." In-soo patted his mother's shoulder and said to Grandma Chu seriously, "Please go back. I never intended to agree to this marriage. The In family and the Chu family will never be related by marriage. It was just a coincidence that I saved Grandpa Chu. I used to be a soldier, so I can't leave him in the lurch. It's my bad luck that I broke my leg. It has nothing to do with Grandpa Chu. Let's end this matter here. We don't need the Chu family to do anything, and we don't want to be related by marriage. My mother's health isn't good, so I won't keep you any longer." In-soo. Yang Yuelan kept tugging at In-soo's clothes to stop him. In the end, it was useless. In-soo was done for. Grandma Chu was a little surprised. Thinking about it, it was true. Previously, so many girls liked In-soo. Although Yang Yuelan had some intentions of getting married, she let In-soo make the decision in the end. The two families really didn't have a good relationship. However, if they didn't want to be related by marriage, they would have to give money. If they just let it go without giving anything, wouldn't the Chu family be shameless? Compared to giving money, it was more appropriate to marry Chu Seong. Grandma Chu smiled shamelessly and said, "Well, you should think about it carefully. I really like In-soo. Chu Seong is sensible and cultured. In the future, when the scar fades, she won't look bad. The two of them will definitely lead a good life. I'll go back first. Let's discuss this matter before deciding." In-soo wanted to say something, but Yang Yuelan hurriedly stopped him and glared at him. He sent Grandma Chu away with her low breasts. When Grandma Chu returned home, the first thing Chu Lan did was to sound her out. After learning that Grandma Chu really wanted to marry Chu Seong, she turned around and smiled with relief. In-soo was even more miserable than her in her previous life. He didn't live a down-to-earth life. Instead, he got a big truck to transport goods and earned a lot of money. In the end, he was unlucky enough to encounter a landslide and disappeared. In her previous life, she gloated over In-soo's misfortune. He didn't like her and refused to marry her. He moved to the county to live a good life. In the end, he didn't live a good life. In this life, it was even worse. In-soo broke his leg before he could earn money. This time, he probably couldn't drive a big truck anymore. He could only be an old farmer in the village. In this way, she indirectly saved In-soo's life. It was better to live than to die. In-soo should be grateful to her. Chu Lan happily went to feed the rabbit. She was very satisfied with the development after her rebirth. After dinner, she took the piece of paper that Song Yang gave her and went to look for Chu Seong. She pretended to ask, "Chu Seong, what do you think this is?" "This is the question written by Song Yang. He explained it to me for a long time today. I've already figured it out. If you don't understand it, I'll explain it to you. If the original owner heard this, she would definitely feel uncomfortable. However, Chu Xiang didn't feel anything. She just glanced at the question on the paper and said, "Do you still need to explain such a simple thing? Your revision is too slow. You can't pass the college entrance exam at this level." Chu Lan's face changed. "If you know it, how can you get such a low score? Who are you trying to fool?" "I'm just confused by the fever. Who doesn't get sick at times? I'll go to school in a few days. I'm sure I can pass the college entrance exam. Chu Lan, you don't have to worry about me. I know what I'm doing." Chu Xiang lay on the Kong and covered herself with the quilt. She looked at her. "Is there anything else? I'm going to sleep. I'm so sleepy. How can you go to school with your face like this?" Chu Lan stared at Chu Xiang's face. Chu Xiang was puzzled. "There's no rule that says I can't take the college entrance exam if I'm injured. Can't I just stick the gauze on my face? It won't be scary if I block it." Chu Lan pursed her lips. In her previous life, Chu Xiang was good at studying. She got into a better school than Song Yang. She thought that Chu Xiang would hide and not dare to show her face when she was disfigured. She would cry and lose her confidence. However, Chu Xiang didn't care about her face at all. It seemed that it was impossible for her to marry into the Yin family. Maybe she could really get into the college in the provincial capital. If she got into the college would give her subsidies. How could her family let Chu Xiang get married? Li Yuezhen would strongly oppose it. What about her? If she didn't get into the college entrance exam, her grandmother would definitely force her to marry into the Yin family. Chu Lan felt a sense of crisis for the first time after her rebirth. The uneasiness in her heart became heavier and heavier. She turned around and walked out of the door while holding the paper in her hand. She had to think carefully about how to ensure that she would leave with Song Yang. At this time, it was already dark. Chu Lan chose this time to come and give a lecture. She wanted to use the dark as an excuse to end the lecture. Everyone had already returned to their rooms to rest. Chu Xiang quietly got down from the bed and put a pile of melon seed shells at the door. She lit the door curtain with a lighter. She lay back on the Kong and closed her eyes to sleep. Everyone in the Chu family wanted to sacrifice her and end this matter peacefully. Were they dreaming? Chapter 144. Everyone was in their own rooms. They didn't notice until the fire got bigger, and there was smoke coming out of the house. The men's anxious shouts and the women's screams sounded at the same time. The Chu family suddenly became noisy. It was the first time that Chu Xian ran outside. Chu Lan also hid far away. His face was full of shock. The others quickly poured water on the fire. Even the neighbors nearby were alarmed and came to help. "Chu Xiang! Chu Xiang! Chu Xiang!" Li Yuezhen shouted in panic. She became even more anxious when she didn't get a response. "Chu Xiang is still inside. Her father, what should we do?" Chu Weigua said irritably. "Stop talking nonsense. Put out the fire quickly. There is no other way." Chu Xiang's room used to be used to store sundries. There was only one window that was special. People couldn't climb in at all. They could only enter from the door. The fire was at the door. What else could they do besides putting out the fire? When the neighbors heard that there was someone inside, they all became anxious. They all rolled up their sleeves and shouted for help. There was strength in numbers. 10 minutes later, the wooden door, curtains, tables, stools, cabinets, and other furniture that were on fire were all put out. Chu Weigua rushed into the house and shook Chu Xiang hard. "Chu Xiang! Wake up! Chu Xiang!" He carried Chu Xiang and ran to the yard. The brigade leader and many villagers heard the news and rushed over. They anxiously asked about Chu Xiang. Li Yuezhen stepped forward and pinched Chu Xiang's philtrum to check her breathing. She cried and said, Why does it seem like she is not breathing? Brigade leader, hurry up and send her to see the doctor. You go and tell the doctor to come here and meet us." The brigade leader pointed at a random person, and then pointed at the old man outside the yard. "Old Zhao, push her on your handcart and ask 2 people to send her. Hurry up and save her." Chu Xiang held her breath so that she would not inhale the smoke. She was completely fine. She was placed on a handcart and sent to the medical center shared by several brigades. The doctor met them halfway and gave Chu Xiang a simple checkup. Sensing Chu Xiang's breath, he frowned and followed them back to the hygiene department. He said worriedly, "This won't do. I can't treat her at this level. I have to send her to the hospital. Did her family come with her? Hurry up and go back to get the money. I'll give him first aid and send him to the county hospital immediately. If we're late, he'll be gone." Chu Weiguo and Li Yuezhen ran after him. They were dumbfounded when they heard this. How much would it cost to send him to the county hospital? However, Chu Xiang was unconscious and was about to die. They had no choice but to leave Li Yuezhen behind. Chu Weiguo braced himself and ran home to ask Grandma Chu for money. The sanitarium was not far from the main group. At this time, everyone had nothing to do. There were more than 30 people who had followed to watch. They all blocked the entrance of the sanitarium and looked inside. Chu Xiang pondered for a moment. A few minutes after the doctor gave her first aid, she coughed and woke up. Li Yuezhen was surprised and said, "Chu Xiang, you're awake? Then doctor, is she okay? Is she okay?" The doctor frowned and said, "Chu Xiang, can you hear me? Are you awake? Do you feel any discomfort?" Chu Xiang looked at him blankly. "I feel dizzy," someone shouted. "Chu Xiang, you were almost burned to death. Why are you on fire?" Chu Xiang moved her eyes and coughed a few times weakly. "Chu Lan asked me to marry Yin Su for her. My whole family agreed. I want to go to university. I can get in. Cough cough. Then, I was too excited and felt dizzy. I fainted. I don't know. Everyone was paying attention to her. It was especially quiet. So even if she was very loud, everyone could hear her clearly." These few sentences contained a lot of information. Everyone was shocked and immediately started discussing what was going on with Chu Lan. Chu Lan and Yin Su got married. Then, did she quit after seeing that Yin Su's leg was broken? If she quit, then so be it. Why did she ask Chu Xiang to marry Yin Su for her? Since when did substitutes still exist in this era? Did the whole Chu family agree? And this fire? Why did it seem like it was set by Chu Lan? Did she want to burn Chu Xiang to death because she was determined to go to university and refused to be a substitute? Chu Lan was so ruthless? Most of the villagers were simple and didn't have any bad intentions. But at the same time, they didn't think too much about it. It was easy for them to believe what others said. In the past few years, it was so chaotic. There were really people who did everything. In their eyes, nothing was strange. It wasn't strange at all that Chu Lan wanted to burn Chu Xiang to death. They only felt that Chu Lan was too ruthless. Li Yuezhen was shocked. By the time she wanted to stop Chu Xiang, it was already too late. She went forward and pressed on Chu Xiang's shoulder, scolding. "What are you talking about? Who told you to marry him? Don't. I'm so dizzy." Chu Xiang was shaken by Li Yuezhen's actions. She immediately showed a painful expression and fainted. The doctor immediately pulled Li Yuezhen away to check on Chu Xiang. He angrily scolded. "What are you doing? Chu Xiang is about to die. Why are you touching her? Hurry up and send her to the county hospital. Hurry up." Li Yuezhen's face turned pale. If Chu Xiang was killed by her touch, she would be despised for the rest of her life. This time, she didn't think about the money. She hurriedly helped to lift Chu Xiang onto the handcart and let two men push it to the county hospital. In such an urgent moment, she naturally didn't think of explaining to everyone. Thus, half a day later, everyone in the brigade, including the children, knew that Chu Lan wanted to burn Chu Xiang to death, and that the Chu family wanted Chu Xiang to replace Chu Lan in marriage to Yin Su. Most importantly, there were people who went to the Chu family and the Yin family to inquire about it. The Chu family frantically denied it, but Yang Yuelan's reaction made everyone believe it. Yang Yuelan was also at a loss. When she heard this, her first reaction was anger. She blurted out, "The old madam of the Chu family is too much. This marriage hasn't been confirmed yet, and I haven't agreed to change the bride. How can she force Chu Xiang like this?" Yang Yuan was just thinking about it. After all, Bai and the others had just finished this matter. She naturally thought that the Chu family was bullying Chu Xiang. In the end, this sentence directly proved Chu Xiang's innocence. Everyone in the brigade believed Chu Xiang's words. The brigade leader went to the county hospital. No one in the brigade questioned the Chu family, but the Chu family's courtyard was full of people. They were all talking at once about this matter. A few women even grabbed onto Chu Lan and didn't let go, tying her up with ropes. Wait for the brigade leader to come back and deal with her. We can't let her escape. Yes, this girl is too vicious. She even harmed her own sister. To think that I thought she was a good girl. I was really blind. Chu Lan was scared out of her wits. Her face was pale and she kept struggling. Let go of me. What are you doing? When did I harm Chu Xiang? It has nothing to do with me. Grandma, Mom, let go of me. What right do they have to catch me? Nonsense. Chu Xiang woke up and said it herself. How can it be fake? She was so weak, and you were the only one there. If you didn't set the fire, did she set it herself? Look at your house. If Chu Xiang didn't come out, she would have been burned to death. We don't even know how she is now. Your family is really bad for your child. Chu Xiang is already awake, but you still pushed her until she fainted. Now we don't even know if she can save her life. The Chu family values boys over girls. By the way, where's Chu Xian? Everyone is already 16 years old. Her biological sister is dying, but she doesn't even show her face. It's all because of other people's help. They're really king inhumane. The voices of Grandma Chu and Chu Lan's mother were drowned out by these loud voices. No one could hear them at all. Chu Lan's mother was so anxious that she cried. She couldn't squeeze over to save Chu Lan. She pulled Chu Lan's father, but Chu Lan's father had already believed in everyone's law. He was too ashamed to go up and help Chu Lan. Grandpa Chu and Grandma Chu were old and couldn't argue or squeeze over. Their faces were full of anxiety. At the same time, they suspected Chu Lan. After all, Chu Lan had been making a fuss before and refused to marry into the Yin family. He even asked her to marry Chu Xiang because she was disfigured and couldn't enter university. If Chu Xiang insisted on entering university and refused to marry, would Chu Lan really be ruthless? They didn't think that Chu Lan wanted to burn Chu Xiang to death. After all, there were so many people in the yard. They would definitely be able to find the fire and put it out in time. It wouldn't burn anyone to death. They felt that Chu Lan definitely wanted to scare Chu Xiang, or let Chu Xiang choke, and continue to stay in bed to recuperate. When that time came, she would miss the college entrance examination and naturally have no choice but to marry. Even so, his heart was vicious enough. In the Chu family, except for Chu Lan's mother who felt sorry for Chu Lan, the others looked at Chu Lan angrily. At the same time, they felt a chill down their spines. How could such a ruthless person not burn them down as well? Then, no one would be able to put out the fire in time. Gradually, almost all the people in the brigade gathered here, including the educated youths in the educated youth station. When Chu Lan saw Song Yang, she wanted to find a hole to hide in, but she immediately reacted. She looked up with an aggrieved face and cried, "You are wronging me. Who saw it? How can you do this to me? I went to Chu Xiang's room today to get her exercises and ask her if she wanted to review. My family and the Yin family are not engaged at all. Why would I do this to her?" Chu Xiang laughed at me for not being able to enter university. She knew all the exercises I took. She wanted to sleep and asked me not to disturb her, so I went back to my room. I only knew that there was a fire when my mother called me. How could it be me? Song Yang frowned even more when he heard that Chu Xiang knew all the exercises. An uncomfortable sense of shame swept through his body. It was as if the exercises that he had painstakingly copied were all a joke in Chu Xiang's eyes. He had wanted to tutor Chu Xiang with all his heart, but in the end, Chu Xiang did not even take a liking to it. Chu Lan glanced at Song Yang's expression and continued to cry. "It really wasn't me. Why do you believe Chu Xiang and not me? You need evidence to sentence me, right? Chu Xiang fainted? Then I think she deliberately lit the fire to frame me. At the very least, it could be an outsider who jumped into the yard and lit the fire." When everyone heard this, they blamed her. She listed everyone in the village as suspects. Of course, they were not happy. Chulan had an idea and immediately said, I know. She might have set the fire herself. Think about it, Chu Xiang is very unlucky. No one in the village has ever slipped on that hillside. How could Chu Xiang fall down and cut her face? She even had a high fever during the exam. She was so confused that she couldn't even answer the questions. She's just unlucky. Chu Lan's mother hurriedly shouted. Yes, our whole family knows that Chu Lan is very lucky. Chu Xiang is a jinx. Bah. Don't be careless. Grandma Chu pushed her fiercely. The country was cracking down on feudal superstitions. Although it wasn't as strict as before, it couldn't be so blatant. However, she had already thought about it in her heart. Chu Xiang was really too unlucky. She might really be a jinx. Chu Lan's mother was anxious to clear her daughter's name. How could she listen to Grandma Chu? She shouted loudly and said many unlucky things about Chu Xiang. Some of the unlucky things that happened to Chu Lan in the past were blamed on Chu Xiang. Outsiders couldn't remember clearly, but they vaguely remembered. After she said this, they really felt that Chu Xiang was very unlucky. The villagers were still very superstitious about these things. When they heard that Chu Lan's mother could get rabbits when she went to dig wild vegetables, and often found a nest of wild eggs, they also understood why Chu Lan had meat from time to time. They believed in this theory even more. Chu Xiang fainted at that time, so she didn't know that the house was on fire. It seemed that she didn't see Chu Lan set the house on fire with her own eyes. What if Chu Xiang was unlucky and the house caught fire by itself? Although they couldn't figure out why the curtain was on fire, they couldn't help but believe that it had something to do with the word jinx. This kind of thing was very mysterious. Each of them could come up with several mysterious and illogical things. Naturally, they were willing to believe it. Everyone started to talk again. This time, no one held on to Chu Lan. It was possible that Chu Lan set the house on fire, and Chu Xiang was unlucky. Chu Lan's mother took the opportunity to let go of Chu Lan. She protected Chu Lan and ran back to the house. No one stopped her. Anyway, they were blocking the door. There were people outside the Chu family's courtyard. Chu Lan couldn't run anywhere. Those educated youths were determined not to be superstitious. They also said a few words to ask everyone to be more rational. However, the villagers ignored them. They felt bored and angrily returned to the educated youth's place. Song Yang also couldn't stay here. He went back with a lot of thoughts. On one hand, he was worried about Chu Xiang. On the other hand, he was also a little worried about Chu Lan. He felt that Chu Lan was really a good person. He wholeheartedly helped Chu Xiang revise. He listened to him carefully. He also knew how to repay his kindness. He often gave him delicious food, and didn't let him suffer a little. Such a good girl definitely wouldn't set the house on fire. He just didn't know how the captain would judge in the end. It was already dark. In the whole brigade, only the Chu family's house was brightly lit. Everyone was waiting for the captain to come back. They also wanted to know if Chu Xiang was saved or not. Yang Yuelan stood outside and listened for a while. She quickly went back home and patted her chest and Yin Su. It's too scary. The house was burned beyond recognition. It can't be used at all. We can only tear it down and rebuild it. I don't know if Chu Xiang was burned or not. Yin Su never wanted to have anything to do with the Chu family. He didn't like the Chu family's character. However, this incident was more or less related to the Yin family. In any case, Chu Xiang had an accident because she was forced to marry him. Naturally, he had to ask a few questions. Yang Yuelan told him everything she had heard. She even said, Chu Xiang can't really be unlucky, right? I saw Chu Lan bring a live rabbit home with my own eyes. She's really lucky. If that's the case, if she set the house on fire, she shouldn't have been caught so quickly. Yin Su shook his head. Mom, good or bad luck is all a lie. Don't believe it. I even picked up food stamps. This kind of good thing happens once or twice. It's not considered good luck. We can't guess what happened. Let's wait and find out how Chu Xiang is. If she's fine, we'll send her some eggs later. Yang Yuelan nodded and sighed. I hope she's fine. She's a good girl. If she's unlucky, I think it's only been half a year. I've never heard of her being unlucky before. By the way, Skinny Monkey wants to send you to the county hospital to have your leg checked. We can go and see her. She should be fine since she woke up, right? Yes. Insu comforted Yang Yuelan with a few words before thinking about the Chu clan. He kept feeling that something was wrong. Chulan had looked for him a few times before, and wanted to be his girlfriend. Although he ignored her, he knew a little about Chulan. Chulan didn't have the guts to set the house on fire. But if Chulan didn't set the house on fire, how did Chu Xiang's house start the fire? Chu Xiang couldn't have set the house on fire herself, right? Insu was a top soldier when he was in the army. He went on many missions and learned a lot. He was very meticulous and saw things differently from the villagers. He thought about what Chu Xiang said when she woke up. She almost perfectly guided the villagers' thoughts and led to this result. It seemed that Chu Xiang set the house on fire herself. But what reason did Chu Xiang have to do this? Insu touched his leg and shook his head self-deprecatingly. He hadn't settled his own problems yet. How could he have the time to care about other things? It was more important to think about how to comfort his mother and sister. If the doctor couldn't cure them, they would cry to death. Just thinking about it gave him a headache. Chapter 145. Chu Xiang did not wake up in the hospital. In this era, the hospitals in the county often misdiagnosed, and the doctor's medical skills were average. When they could not find the problem, the doctors thought that Chu Xiang's condition was very serious. They used all kinds of methods and drugs to treat her. It was a matter of life and death. The brigade leader and 3 to 5 villagers were watching. Li Yuezhen had no choice but to save Chu Xiang and let her die. When she was out of her wits, the brigade leader paid for the doctor to push Chu Xiang into the emergency room. When Chu Weigua came later, he did not have enough money. He could only promise the captain that he would return the money when he returned. Chu Xiang was in the emergency room for a long time. The doctor came out and said, "The patient has been unconscious for a long time. Her vital signs have stabilized. We suspect that she may become a vegetable. We need to observe her for 3 days. Let's go through the hospitalization procedures." What? What is a vegetable? What does a person have to do with a vegetable? Li Yuezhen pulled the doctor in confusion. The doctor explained, "A vegetable is simply a patient who is still alive, but it is not certain when she will wake up. She can only stay in bed and recuperate." Isn't that the same as being dead? Li Yuezhen looked at Chu Weigua in shock. Chu Weigua was also dumbfounded. Even the captain did not know how to react. Chu Xiang had just woken up in the hygiene department. She looked fine. But after being pushed by Li Yuezhen, her condition became so serious. Li Yuezhen's face was as white as paper. She felt as if she had killed her daughter with her own hands. The captain frowned and scolded. "What's the use of this now? Hurry up and go through the procedures. What are you waiting for?" I'll go now." Chu Weigua's brain was not working. The captain's words and his actions made the hospitalization procedures complete before he could react. He still owed the hospital some money, and he was ordered to pay it in the morning. It was too late for him to go back to the brigade to ask for money. After thinking about it, he ran to find his sister, Chu Shuang. Chu Shuang was a salesperson in the supply and marketing cooperative. Her husband was an accountant in the brick factory. Her family was well off, but she did not like to interact with her family. He shamelessly knocked on Chu Shuang's door and settled the matter. Chu Shuang made excuses, but in the end, she still lent him 300 yuan. She knew that the Chu family had the money and was not afraid that they could not get it back. Of course, there was nothing more than that. The Chu clan would definitely not be able to pay it back. Chu Xiang was in the hospital ward, silently using that little bit of spiritual power to repair her body. Previously, when the original owner of the body rolled down the hill, it was quite serious. This just happened to give her a reason to faint this time. He hadn't recovered from the back of his head the last time, and this time, he inhaled the thick smoke again. He might have injured his brain nerves or brain cells, and he might become a vegetable. The medicine that the doctor gave her had all been unknowingly moved into her space. The hospital's environment was much better than the Chu family's. The bed was also more comfortable. She was unconscious peacefully. The captain waited until after midnight. Seeing that Chu Xiang's life was not in danger, he brought her back first. Seeing that everyone was gathered at the Chu residence, he knew that everyone was feeling uneasy, so he interrogated Chu Lan in front of everyone. Of course, Chu Lan refused to admit it, and used her unlucky excuse again. The captain had graduated from high school, and often went to the county for meetings to receive new ideas. Of course, he was determined not to be superstitious. He asked more about where everyone in the Chu family was at that time and what they heard. Chu Xian saw Chu Lan enter Chu Xiang's room from the window. That was the last time everyone in the Chu family saw Chu Lan. Chu Lan was the most suspicious. She couldn't find any evidence to prove that she didn't light the fire. Everyone knew that Chu Xiang was bedridden. There was no reason for her to light the fire herself. Besides, she was going to become a vegetable. Who would do this to herself? It was impossible for her to disfigure herself and commit suicide. Chu Xiang didn't have that tendency at all. She still had to go to college. It was another war of words. The more people talked, the more they felt that it was more reasonable for Chu Lan to light the fire. Chu Lan saw that everyone was affected by the captain's words, and was very anxious. In the end, she simply acted shamelessly. Then I can't prove that I wasn't there. Did any of you see me light the fire with your own eyes? You don't have any evidence. Why are you accusing me of lighting the fire? It's such a big accusation. You don't have any evidence, so you want to make a false case? You want to kill an innocent person like me? The captain frowned. In the past few years, there were many false cases. He had seen those tragic cases with his own eyes. Of course, he didn't want to have a false case in his hands. Without evidence and witnesses, he couldn't make a judgment. In the end, he sighed and said, "Lock up Chu Lan first. We'll talk later. Everyone disperse. Disperse." At this time, Chu Lan's good luck was fading little by little. However, it hadn't completely disappeared, so she wasn't caught and still managed to escape the disaster. Chu Lan heaved a sigh of relief. After she was locked up, she pulled her mother and whispered, "You must vigorously promote Chu Xiang as a jinx. Do you understand? She was unlucky. I'm innocent." Chu Lan's mother nodded repeatedly. She cried in front of Grandpa Chu, Grandma Chu, and Chu Lan's father. She kept on saying that Chu Xiang was a jinx. She recounted Chu Xiang's misfortune from beginning to end. 20% was true, and 80% was false. After hearing so much, they all believed it to be true. After all, who would pay attention to such trivial matters? Grandma Chu was the most superstitious. Her face was so ugly that she couldn't sleep well the whole night. She thought about it. Her old man almost died. Fortunately, he was saved by Yin Su. In the end, Yin Su broke her leg and ruined the Chu family's reputation. She even had to give the Yin family compensation. How unlucky. As for Chu Xiang, she was originally quite good in her studies. However, when it was time for the college entrance examination, her grades plummeted. She even rolled down a hill and disfigured her face. Now, her house was burned down, and her family's assets were directly reduced. She was also hospitalized. The hospital was a place that burned money. Not only that, Chu Xiang was going to become a vegetable. She was half dead and couldn't do anything. They still had to take care of her. In the future, she would be a burden to them. How unlucky. Now their family was in such a state. Even Chu Lan, who was getting luckier and luckier, was implicated and became a suspect. Chu Xian was also accused of not having any family ties. Their family was in a state of decline. This was all caused by Chu Xiang, the jinx. The more Grandma Chu thought about it, the angrier she got. The more she thought about it, the more scared she became. A thought popped up in her mind. Once I bring Chu Xiang back and raise her for a while, I'll starve her to death quietly. Once she died, everything would be over. The Chu family would not be unlucky again in the future. Chu Xiang used the heaven and earth mirror to see the situation in the Chu family clearly. Everything was in line with her plan. She planned according to Rao's character in the Chu family. First, she would be called a jinx. The most important thing was to completely cut off the relationship. In this era, she needed a letter of recommendation to go anywhere. She couldn't even sneak away. She couldn't cultivate either. She was just a weak woman. If she really went out to do something, she might be caught as a spy. After all, the original owner's growth experience was transparent. She suddenly learned other skills and it was too sensitive in this era. Moreover, in this kind of village, filial piety was the most important thing. They also valued boys over girls. Even if she was reasonable, the elders would cry and make a scene. Others would turn around and blame her. Even if she was admitted to university, they could still go to her school and make trouble. She couldn't go to school. It would take at least a few years for her to be free. She didn't want to wait that long. The best way was to let the Chu family give up on her. She also thought about a way out. It was important to find a partner. She just needed to confirm the partner again. Li Yuezhen stayed up all night. The next day, she saw that Chu Xiang had been very stable. She thought it was too expensive to stay in the hospital, so she asked the doctor to go home. Of course, the doctor didn't agree. They had to observe for 3 days to determine whether there was any danger. However, Li Yuezhen and Chu Weiguo both cared about the money and didn't want to stay in the hospital. At this time, Chu Xiang's heart stopped. The doctor rushed to rescue her and sent her back. His attitude towards Li Yuezhen and Chu Weiguo was very bad. "What's wrong with you? Do you want the patient to die on purpose? I have to report your situation to the higher-ups." No. We will save her. Of course, we will save her. She was fine before, wasn't she? There may be problems at any time during the observation period. Otherwise, why would we observe her? The patient's heart stopped just now. If she was in your house, it would be too late to rescue her. Okay, we know. Observe her. Stay in the hospital for observation. Chu Weiguo and Li Yuezhen were a little inferior and timid when facing the doctor. They were scared when they were scolded. The cost of the rescue, hospitalization, and medicine was another large sum of money. The two were worried and didn't know what to do. They discussed it and went home. They had to discuss this matter with the old lady at home. When Grandma Chu heard that they had spent all the money they brought, owed Chu Shuang 300 yuan, and owed the brigade leader 100 yuan, she was furious. Grandma Chu slapped Chu Weiguo on the back and said angrily, "Did water enter your brain? That money is enough for Chu Xian to get a wife. You spent it on a vegetable? Are you crazy?" Chu Weiguo was also very regretful. He lowered his head and said, "Mom, you don't know. It was too urgent at that time. I didn't react in time. The doctor used the medicine. We had no choice but to pay. And the brigade leader is watching. If we don't save Chu Xiang's life, won't we be criticized behind our backs in the future? That won't do. So much money." Grandma Chu clutched her chest and fell onto the bed. Her vision turned black. But so what if her heart ached? She had to return the money she owed. She cared about her reputation the most. It was impossible for her not to return the money to the brigade leader. Her daughter had the same personality as her. She would definitely ask for the money back. She calculated the family's savings. Almost all of it had been used up. Her heart was bleeding. Thinking about it this way, Chu Xiang was indeed a jinx. She had squandered all of their money again. The fact that Chu Xiang was a jinx was deeply rooted in the hearts of the Chu family. They would show this attitude whenever they went out to talk to others. 1 spread to 10, and 10 spread to 100. The fact that Chu Xiang was a jinx became an open secret in the brigade. No one dared to discuss it openly, but everyone wanted to whisper about it. Occasionally, there were people who were not superstitious and did not agree with it. But when they thought about the unlucky things that happened to the Chu family in the past few months, they did not dare to express their opinions. Sometimes, some things were so mysterious that they could not be explained. Yang Yuelon heard about Chu Xiang's news. When she returned home, she sighed to Yin Su. This child is too pitiful. She was obviously a good candidate for college. How did she become a vegetable? Skinny Monkey carried Yin Su onto the handcart. He rolled up his sleeves and pushed the cart out. "Auntie, isn't the doctor still going to wake her up? Maybe she will be fine in a few days. Don't believe in bad luck. It's fake." Yang Yuelon took the cloth bag that she had prepared and closed the door. Yes, I don't believe it. Hey, be careful. Let's walk slowly. Today, let's go to the hospital to have her leg checked. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.